Chapter 668. After I kill Zhu Jinlan and the others and steal their points, I should be able to enter first place. Mo Qingyun was filled with anticipation when he thought about killing Zhu Jinlan and the others and stealing their point. That way, his points would surpass the invincible blades and he would be able to obtain first place in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. At that time, he would be able to obtain the ancient world crossing stone and allow the 9 temples to set up the world crossing array to return to the heavenly soul continent. Mo Qingyun was filled with excitement when he thought of this. He could not wait any longer. Kill Zhu Jinlan and the others and steal their points? Zhang Heng's expression changed when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He was shocked by Mo Qingyun's words. Mo Qingyun was plotting against Zhu Jinlan and the others. In the entire Myriad World Valley, Mo Qingyun was probably the only person who dared to plot against the 5 Uniques prodigies. Crazy, this was crazy. You lunatic. Aren't you afraid of the 5 Unique sects' revenge? After thinking about it this way, Zhang Heng revealed a crazed expression and roared at Mo Qingyun. In Zhang Heng's opinion, if Mo Qingyun was not a lunatic, he would not have such thoughts. The 5 Unique sects' revenge? Mo Qingyun curled his lips in disdain when he heard Zhang Heng's words. He said nonchalantly, "When I obtain first place in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering and become a true disciple of the 9 Seals sect, it will not be the 5 Unique sect taking revenge on me. It will be me venting my anger on them." Zhang Heng gasped when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He vaguely understood something. Zhang Heng looked at Mo Qingyun in awe and asked in panic, Who are you? Who am I? Mo Qingyun looked at Zhang Heng with disdain when he heard his words. He said coldly, "Didn't you people from the Burying Sword Talisman sect receive instructions from Zhu Jinlan to deal with me? How can you not know who I am? You're Mo Qingyun." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Zhang Heng immediately guessed Mo Qingyun's identity, and a look of intense shock appeared on his face. He had never thought that Mo Qingyun would be so daring. Facing the pursuit of Zhu Jinlan and the others, not only did Mo Qingyun not obediently hide, he even had designs on Zhu Jinlan and the others. However, he had to admit that Mo Qingyun did indeed have the ability to compete with Zhu Jinlan. No wonder Zhou Qing died in your hands. At this moment, Zhang Heng finally understood why Zhou Qing had died in Mo Qingyun's hands. With the combat strength that Mo Qingyun had displayed, killing Zhou Qing was simply too easy. "I've told you so much, it's time to send you on your way." Looking at the shocked faces of Zhang Heng and the others, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time with them, and directly attacked them. At this moment, Zhang Heng and the others were already at the end of their rope. Facing Mo Qingyun's powerful attacks, they were practically slaughtered like chickens and pottery dogs. Very quickly, Zhang Heng and the others' faces were filled with unwillingness and despair. Under Mo Qingyun's attacks, they were forcefully killed. After killing Zhang Heng and the others, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and took their Qiankuan bags and scoreboard. "Senior Mo, Senior Jilan, take these scoreboards." After taking Zhang Heng and the others' scoreboards, Mo Qingyun handed Zhang Huan and the others' scoreboards to Mo Qing and Mo Jilan respectively. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, with his current points, Zhang Huan and the others' points were not of much use to him. It was better to give Zhang Huan and the others' points to Mo Qing and Mo Jilan so that the two of them could raise their rankings. Junior Mo, seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Mo Qing's expression was immediately shocked. He was extremely shocked by Mo Qingyun's actions. "Junior Mo, if you give their points to me, won't it affect your ranking?" At this moment, He Jilan was the same as Mo Qing. She also revealed a shocked expression and said a worried sentence. She was worried that Mo Qingyun's apprehension towards the two of them would affect his final results. If that was the case, she would rather not give up these points and let Mo Qingyun obtain a better result. "Senior Mo, Senior Jilan, you don't have to worry. These points won't affect my final result. Seeing Emo Qing and Emo Jilan's reactions, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand. He comforted them and said, "When I kill Zhu Jinlan and the others and snatch their points, my ranking will be able to directly enter first place." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Emo Qing and Emo Jilan stopped thinking about it and started to transfer Zhang Huan and the others' point. "In that case, we will take these points first. If you don't have enough points by then, we will transfer the points to you." After transferring Zhang Huan and the others' points to his own scoreboard, Emo Qing revealed a solemn expression and told Emo Qingyun, "Alright." Hearing Emo Qing's words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. He did not say much to him. From his point of view, as long as he had enough points, there was no need for Emo Qing and Emo Jilan to transfer their points to him. After telling Emo Qing and Emo Jilan, Emo Qingyun transferred Zhang Heng's points to his scoreboard. With the transfer of Zhang Heng's points, Emo Qingyun's ranking rose again, and he surpassed Lu Chao, who was in 5th place. 5th place. Seeing that his ranking had risen to 5th place again, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and thought to himself, "Next, I only need to wait for Zhu Jinlan and the others to come after me. I hope that they can come quickly so that I can stabilize my ranking earlier." Emo Qingyun thought for a while and smiled faintly at Emo Qing and Emo Jilan. He suggested, "Senior brother Emo, senior sister Jilan, your injuries are not light. Let's find a place to heal first." "Okay." Hearing that, Emo Qing and Emo Jilan nodded. Then, Emo Qingyun brought Emo Qing and Emo Jilan to a secluded place for them to heal their injuries. After settling Emo Qing and Emo Jilan down, Emo Qingyun did not leave. Instead, he stayed by their side to protect them silently. When Emo Qing and Emo Jilan were healing their injuries, Emo Qingyun met a few groups of people who had evil intentions. It was a pity that these people were sent by Zhu Jinlan. In addition, what disappointed Emo Qingyun was that these people did not have many points. They only had a few million points. Seeing that, Emo Qingyun shook his head in disappointment and sighed, "Forget it. I will pass the points in these people's points tokens to senior brother Emo and senior sister Jilan later." With that thought, Emo Qingyun kept the points tokens. He was going to pass the points tokens to Emo Qing and Emo Jilan after they were done with their cultivation. The rest of the time passed slowly as Emo Qing and Emo Jilan healed their injuries. In the blink of an eye, a day later, a group of arrogant people rushed towards Emo Qingyun. "I can sense the aura of the Crimson Sword Seal. It is not far from here. Let's split up and search." After those people arrived, one of them spoke to Emo Qingyun. "They are here." Chapter 669. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, while Emo Qingyun's face was filled with joy, several figures quickly arrived in front of him. 6 seals initial stage? When these people arrived in front of Emo Qingyun and discovered that Emo Qingyun had completed his cultivation, they were all shocked. Obviously, they did not expect that the person who had been inflicted with the Blood Talisman Sword Seal was a 6 seals initial stage cultivator. In their knowledge, those who were bestowed with the Blood Talisman Sword Seal were all geniuses of the Sword Talisman sect. Even if they were not geniuses of the Sword Talisman sect, they were the top geniuses in the Sword Talisman sect's affiliated sections. These people's strength was comparable to a 7 seals expert. However, they had been killed by a 6 seals initial stage cultivator. This was too abnormal. "Boy, you are quite bold. How dare you launch a sneak attack on the people of the Sword Talisman sect?" After a short pause, Zhu Dongyang, who was the leader of the group, shouted at Emo Qingyun. "Sneak attack." Upon hearing Zhu Dongyang's words, Emo Qingyun smiled nonchalantly and said disdainfully, "Even if Zhu Jinlan was standing here, I wouldn't have needed to launch a sneak attack to kill him. How dare you? How dare you speak rudely to my big brother?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Zhu Dongyang's face immediately darkened. He scolded Emo Qingyun and said, Boy, since you dare to go against the Sword Talisman sect, you must not be a nobody. Tell us your name." Hearing Zhu Dongyang's words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, "In that case, listen carefully. My name is Emo Qingyun." "Emo Qingyun, you are Emo Qingyun." "What? He is Emo Qingyun, the one with a talent value of 1,000. So it is him. No wonder he has the Blood Talisman sword seal on him." Hearing Emo Qingyun's name, Zhu Dongyang and the others were shocked by Emo Qingyun's identity. At this moment, they finally understood why Emo Qingyun had the Blood Talisman sword seal on him. "Since you know who I am, I will send you to accompany Zhang Heng and the others." Looking at the surprised people in front of him, Emo Qingyun's expression turned cold and a murderous aura. "Zhang Heng? You killed Zhang Heng?" When Zhu Dongyang heard Emo Qingyun's name, a look of shock and panic appeared in his eyes. He truly did not expect that even Zhang Heng would be killed by Emo Qingyun. His strength was similar to Zhang Heng's. Since Emo Qingyun could kill Zhang Heng, then Emo Qingyun could also kill him. Thinking of this, Zhu Dongyang's expression tensed up, and a strong sense of panic rose in his heart. Immemorial Demonic Note Talisman. Emo Qingyun ignored the panic of Zhu Dongyang and the others and summoned the Immemorial Demonic Note Talisman. Buzz buzz buzz. As soon as the Immemorial Demonic Note Talisman was summoned, waves of demonic sound waves spread out from its strings. As soon as these illusory sound waves were released from the string, they forcefully rushed into the minds of Zhu Dongyang and the others. Puff! Zhu Dongyang and the others immediately turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood when they were hit by the demonic sound wave. Immediately after, Zhu Dongyang and the others began to lose consciousness, and their expressions became confused. Heavenly Flame Sky-Breaking Halberd. When Emo Qingyun saw that Zhu Dongyang and the others were beginning to lose consciousness under the impact of the illusory sound waves, he immediately swung his scorching flame halberd at them. Emo Qingyun was very fond of doing things like beating a drowning dog. When Emo Qingyun swung his halberd, the blazing halberd exploded with a red light and a shocking aura. Roar! Then, a dragon-shaped halberd light shot toward Zhu Dongyang and the others like a tornado. Bang bang bang! A series of muffled groans came from Zhu Dongyang and the others. After a series of muffled sounds, Zhu Dongyang and the others were sent flying one after another. They fell to the ground, heavily injured. Puff! Zhu Dongyang and the others were hit by Emo Qingyun's halberd and spat out another mouthful of blood. Their auras weakened even more. What kind of talisman is that?" Zhu Dongyang asked Emo Qingyun in shock when he saw the power of the Immemorial Demonic Note Talisman. The power of the Immemorial Demonic Note Talisman shocked him. This kind of talisman that directly attacked one's soul was the nemesis of talisman cultivators. He could not even use 30% of his strength. "You don't have the right to know," Emo Qingyun replied coldly to Zhu Dongyang's question. He attacked Zhu Dongyang and the others again. "Emo Qingyun, don't go too far. Zhu Jinlan is my elder brother. If you kill me, he won't let you go." Zhu Dongyang's face twitched when he saw Emo Qingyun attack them again with the blazing halberd. He was really scared at this moment. The strength that Emo Qingyun had displayed was completely different from what he had expected. He was no weaker than Zhu Jinlan and the others. "Oh, you are Zhu Jinlan's younger brother." Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly when he heard Zhu Dongyang's words. He looked surprised. After a short moment of surprise, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and looked at Zhu Dongyang with a mocking gaze. At the same time, Emo Qingyun stopped what he was doing. "Emo Qingyun, are you scared now?" Zhu Dongyang's expression relaxed when he saw that Emo Qingyun had stopped what he was doing. A smug expression appeared on his face as he said, "Let me tell you, my big brother cares about me the most. If you dare to harm even a hair on my head, my big brother will definitely tear you to pieces." Zhu Dongyang thought that Emo Qingyun must be very afraid of Zhu Jinlan, since he had stopped what he was doing when he heard Zhu Jinlan's name. I didn't expect that Zhu Jinlan cares about you the most. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He looked at Zhu Dongyang with a meaningful gaze and said, "So, if Zhu Jinlan sees your corpse, he will probably go crazy." What do you mean?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Zhu Dongyang's expression immediately twitched, and his face turned pale. Could it be that Mo Qingyun knew that he was Zhu Jinlan's younger brother and still wanted to kill him? How was that possible? Was Mo Qingyun not afraid of Zhu Jinlan? Zhu Dongyang's face turned even paler when he thought of this. He felt a chill run down his spine. "Did you say that?" Mo Qingyun smiled coldly and asked Zhu Dongyang in return. Then, he started to attack Zhu Dongyang and the others again. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's attacks were clearly sharper and more ruthless than before. Zhu Dongyang and the others, who were on the verge of death, had no way of resisting Mo Qingyun's powerful attacks. Very quickly, Zhu Dongyang and the others were killed one by Mo Qingyun's attack. "Mo Qingyun, my elder brother will not let you off." Zhu Dongyang's eyes widened when he saw the scorching halberd in his chest. He couldn't believe that this was real. Mo Qingyun had actually killed him. Chapter 670. At the same time, Mo Qingyun did not stay idle. He collected Zhu Dongyang's Qinkuan bags and scoreboards. Yes. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, these people did not dare to hesitate. They immediately carried Zhu Dongyang's body and left. After those people left, Mo Qingyun took out Zhu Dongyang's scoreboard and transferred their points to himself. Zhu Dongyang's strength was similar to Zhang Heng's. He was also ranked in the top 50 and had more than 100 million points. With the increase of Zhu Dongyang's points, Mo Qingyun's points immediately soared and broke through the 700 million mark. At the same time, Mo Qingyun's ranking rose again and surpassed Chou Jianfeng, who was ranked 4th. First place, Invincible Blade, 1,344,568,260 points. Second place, Yuan Ba points, 750,723,145. Third place, Zhu Jinlan, 738,645,620 points. Fourth place, Mo Qingyun, 712,669,755 points. Fifth place, Chou Jianfeng points, 689,834,840. While checking his points, Mo Qingyun took a look at the points of Invincible Blade and the others. Only 300 million points left. It seems like the gap is not too big. Seeing the gap between his points and Invincible Blade's, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and muttered to himself, "There are still 6 days until the end of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Looking at the current situation, Invincible Blade's points should be able to reach 2 billion. It seems like if I want to get first place, I won't be able to snatch Zhu Jinlan's point. Junior brother Qingyun, let's go." At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was thinking, Mo Qing and He Jilan smiled faintly and walked toward him slowly. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun turned to look at them and realized that they looked much better. It seemed like they had completely recovered. "There's no need to leave. We'll just wait here." Hearing the two's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. He took out some scoreboards and passed them to them. "Here are some scoreboards. Transfer your points to your own scoreboards." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Qingyun and Mo Qing were stunned. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's actions. Mo Qingyun had given them the scoreboard again. Could it be that Mo Qingyun had robbed others of their points? Looking at Mo Qingyun and Mo Qing's expressions, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "While you were recuperating, another wave of people came to give me points. I could only reluctantly accept them." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Qing and Mo were speechless. Their feelings became complicated. When others encountered points robbery, they were all scared out of their wits, afraid that their points would be robbed. However, Emo Qingyun was different. He specialized in robbing people who robbed him of his point. If others were to know about this, they would probably have the urge to vomit blood. Everyone was here to participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Why was the difference so huge? After sighing in their hearts, Emo Qing and He Jilan did not think too much and accepted the scoreboard that Emo Qingyun passed to them. After receiving the scoreboard that Emo Qingyun passed to them, Emo Qing and He Jilan transferred the points from the scoreboard to their own scoreboard. Then, Emo Qing and He Jilan's rankings started to rise rapidly. Top 100. My ranking is in the top 100. Seeing that he had entered the top 100, Emo Qing's face was filled with joy as he said these words excitedly. At this moment, He Jilan's face was filled with joy as well. However, she did not show it directly like Emo Qing. Looking at the happy faces of Emo Qing and He Jilan, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, "This is just the beginning. Next, your rankings will continue to rise." Really? Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Emo Qing and He Jilan became even more excited. They did not dare to believe that this was true. Originally, they thought that they were already burning incense to reach the top 1,000 with their strength. They did not expect that with Emo Qingyun's help, not only did they maintain their position in the top 1,000, they even rushed into the top 100. This result was something that they did not expect. At this moment, as Emo Qingyun and the other two were talking, another group of people rushed towards them. The people who are here to deliver the points are here. Seeing that these people had arrived, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly at Emo Qing and He Jilan. He stood up and walked towards the group of people. At this moment, when Emo Qingyun walked towards those people, he did not waste any time talking to them. Instead, he directly attacked them. From Emo Qingyun's point of view, since there were so many people coming, he was afraid that his whereabouts had been exposed. In order to prevent multiple groups of people from coming at the same time and teaming up to deal with him, it was better for him to quickly deal with the people in front of him. Although Emo Qingyun was not worried about them teaming up, it would be troublesome for him to deal with multiple groups of people at the same time. The combat power of these people in front of him was not as strong as Zhang Heng and Zhu Dongyang. Therefore, under Emo Qingyun's powerful attacks, they were almost unable to resist and were slaughtered. After killing these people, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and took away their scoreboards and Qiankuan bag. Seeing that Emo Qingyun was like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves, Emo Qing and He Jilan were immediately stunned. Emo Qingyun was simply too overbearing. After collecting the points of these people in front of him, Emo Qingyun's points increased by a lot again. The gap between him and Zhu Jinlan, who was ranked third, narrowed again. In the following period of time, Emo Qingyun and the other two stood guard and waited for the others to kill Emo Qingyun. Outside the Myriad World Valley, as Emo Qingyun continued to kill others and steal their points, his ranking continued to rise. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. At this moment, on the light screen, Emo Qingyun's ranking rose again, surpassing Yuan Ba, who was ranked second. At the same time, the gap between Emo Qingyun and Invincible Blade, who was ranked first, was only 200 million points. Was Emo Qingyun going to fight for the first place? After seeing this scene, everyone's hearts trembled. They were so shocked by the scene before them that they were confused. Qingyun is ranked second? Seeing that Emo Qingyun had entered the second place, Fang Huaid was shocked and immediately stood up from his seat. He's ranked second. At this moment, Yu Xianxin and the others were the same. After seeing Emo Qingyun's ranking, they immediately stood up in shock. It seems that Zhou Qing's revenge will not be avenged. The silver-haired elder of the Wild Talisman sect could not help but sigh in his heart after seeing Emo Qingyun's ranking. He knew very well that if Emo Qingyun could maintain his ranking, Mo Qingyun would not be someone the Wild Talisman sect could provoke. Good, very good. Seeing Mo Qingyun's ranking, the elder from the Sky Demon Talisman sect was overjoyed. His expression became extremely excited as he said, "Good boy, since you've already rushed to second place, then muster up your courage and directly rush to first place." Rush to the first place? The expressions of Mo Qing and the rest changed when they heard this. Their expressions became a little nervous as intense anticipation flowed out from their eyes. Chapter 671. Sweeping Eagle Valley. Big brother, I didn't expect these insignificant 5-seal cultivators to be able to get so many points. Yeah, if we had known this would happen, we would have kept snatching the 5-seal cultivators' points. It's a pity that Mo Qingyun snatched our points once. Otherwise, my ranking would have been in the top 800. Beside a huge bluestone in Sweeping Eagle Valley, 3 wretched-looking young men were chatting. If Mo Qingyun was here, he would definitely recognize the 3 of them. These 3 were none other than the Sweeping Eagle trio, whose points had been snatched by Mo Qingyun not long ago. Unexpectedly, the 3 of them had returned to Sweeping Eagle Valley and resumed their old business here. Big brother, it seems like someone is coming. At this moment, the 3rd demon looked excited as he spoke to the other 2 beside him. The pockmarked youth, 1st demon and 2nd demon, were delighted when they heard this and looked in the direction that the 3rd demon was pointing at. Then, he saw 3 young men with weak auras slowly approaching while carrying a corpse. 2 6-seal advanced and 1 6-seal intermediate. They won't be easy to deal with. The pockmarked youth's expression turned serious when he realized the cultivation levels of the 3 people, and hesitation rose in his heart. Based on the strength of the 3 people in front of them, it would not be easy for them to snatch the points from them. After all, based on their cultivation levels, the 3 people's cultivation levels were slightly higher than theirs. Big brother, the 3 of them seemed to be seriously injured. When the pockmarked youth showed a troubled expression, 2nd demon's expression changed and he spoke in surprise. Hearing 2nd demon's words, the pockmarked youth and 3rd demon's expressions changed and they began to carefully size up the 3 people. They really are injured. After careful observation, 3rd demon's expression turned to joy and he hurriedly asked the pockmarked youth, "Big brother, the 3 of them are seriously injured and can't even use 30% of their cultivation. Should we snatch them?" Hearing 3rd demon's words, the pockmarked youth fell silent and a strong struggle rose in his heart. To snatch or not to snatch? Rob his grandpa. We'll stop once we're done with this. After a short moment of silence, the pockmarked youth's expression hardened and he made a decision in his heart. He said coldly, "With the points we have, we should be able to enter the top 1,000. Okay." Hearing the pockmarked youth's decision, Shah-Er and Shah-Er both nodded, agreeing with his decision. "Kill." The pockmarked youth shouted coldly and moved his body as he charged towards the 3 people. Seeing the pockmarked youth's move, Demon's 2nd demon and 3rd demon did not hesitate and quickly followed behind the pockmarked youth. Bang! Once the pockmarked youth's name, demon, demons and demons, eagles and 3rd demons. At this moment, the Sweeping Eagle Ominous Three's plan was very simple, and that was to take advantage of the fact that the other party had yet to react and catch them off guard. What happened next was just as the Sweeping Eagle Evils had expected. The 3 opponents were indeed caught off guard by their attack. "Stop! Stop it! Do you know who we are?" Facing the attack of the Eagle Sweep 3 Evils, the 3 revealed panicked expressions and shouted at the Eagle Sweep 3 Evils. "I don't care who you are. I only know that we are robbing you." Hearing the other party's words, the 3 demons revealed a look of disdain and said mockingly, "We are disciples of the Blood Sword Talisman sect. This is the younger brother of the Sword Talisman sect's genius, Zhu Jinlan. If you hurt senior brother Zhu Dongyang's body, you can wait for the Sword Talisman sect's revenge." After hearing the words of the three demons, the three people from the Blood Sword Talisman Gate became furious and started to angrily rebuke the three demons again. Bah! The Evil Three's expression became even more disdainful when he heard the three's words. He spat on Zhu Jinlan's face and said, "If he's Zhu Jinlan's younger brother, then I'm Zhu Jinlan's grandfather." As soon as the three fiends finished speaking, their attacks became even more ruthless. They wanted to kill this person with every move. The three people from the Blood Sword Talisman sect were already half dead. In addition, they had been on the road for the past few days, which had caused their injuries to worsen. Now that they were attacked by the pockmarked youth and his two companions, their injuries became even more serious. They did not even have the strength to resist. Soon, the pockmarked youth and his two companions killed the three people on the spot. You three, wait to be hunted down by the Sword Talisman sect. Before the three people from the Blood Sword Talisman sect died, their faces were filled with anger as they said these words with resentment. The person who can injure them must not be simple. Let's leave immediately so that we won't be discovered by the person who injured them. After killing the three people from the Blood Sword Talisman sect, the pockmarked youth said to the three demons and the two demons with a dignified expression. At this time, the three demons found an identity card in the shape of a small sword on Zhu Dongyang's body. His big brother, we seem to have made a mistake. Looking at the sword-shaped identity card in his hand, the three demons immediately gasped and panicked. The Sword Talisman sect. Seeing the identity card in the three demons' hand, the pockmarked youth and the two demons' faces twitched and their eyes flashed with intense worry. These people were really the disciples of the Sword Talisman sect. The three of them had killed the disciples of the Sword Talisman sect. This was really a disaster. Brother, they don't have any scoreboards or qiankuan bags. At this time, the two demons said to the pockmarked youth and the three demons with a solemn expression, "Don't worry about anything. The three of us will leave immediately." Hearing the words of the two demons, the pockmarked youth was shocked and hurriedly said to the two of them. After the pockmarked youth finished speaking, he immediately stood up and left. The two demons quickly followed him. Now, when the Sweeping Eagle three demons killed the people from the Blood Sword Talisman sect, Mo Qingyun killed another group of people and robbed their points. However, if he knew that the people from the Blood Sword Talisman sect who had sent a message to Zhu Jinlan for him had been killed by the Sweeping Eagle three demons, he would not know whether to laugh or cry. Only 200 million left. Seeing the gap between his points and the invincible blades, Mo Qingyun smiled brightly and said, "There are still 2 days left. It should be enough for me to surpass the invincible blade." At this moment, when Mo Qingyun was thinking, a cold aura quietly approached his neck. Sensing the approaching cold aura, Mo Qingyun immediately frowned and quickly dodged. As Mo Qingyun dodged, a cold saber light flashed past his right shoulder and tore the clothes on his right shoulder. Your reaction is quite fast. No wonder those trash from the Sword Talisman sect could not kill you. After Mo Qingyun dodged the cold saber light, a cold voice came from the forest beside him. Chapter 672. You've actually guessed my identity. Upon seeing that Mo Qingyun had guessed his identity, the Shadow Talisman sect disciple uttered these words in shock. After uttering these words of shock, this person walked out from the thicket and appeared in front of Mo Qingyun. However, his Shadow Talisman doppelganger did not appear and remained hidden, waiting for an opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Mo Qingyun. After this person walked out, he looked at Mo Qingyun with an arrogant expression and said disdainfully, "Originally, a brat with a cultivation at the initial stage of the 6th seal stage like you is not qualified for me, Chozitao, to take action." After Chozitao's words fell, he slightly paused, licked his lips and continued, "However, the nearly 1 billion points on you are worth a trip." Chozitao ranked 11th on the leaderboard? After knowing the other party's identity, The smile on Emo Qingyun's face immediately became more radiant as he said, "If I obtain your 300 million points, I will be able to surpass the invincible blade. Finally, I've caught a big fish." "Brat, does this mean that you still want to snatch my points?" Upon hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Chou Zitao unconcernedly smiled, his expression turning colder as he said, "If that's the case, I'll let you experience the power of our Shadow Talisman doppelganger." After Chou Zitao's words fell, a cold smile surfaced from the corners of his mouth as his figure swiftly attacked Emo Qingyun. However, Chou Zitao did not fight Emo Qingyun head-on. Instead, his figure swiftly moved and circled around Emo Qingyun. Chou Zitao's movements were extremely quick. In a short while, only his afterimages could be seen rapidly moving. It's the Shadow Talisman sect. This time junior brother Emo is in trouble. Upon seeing Chou Zitao's body transform into afterimages, Emo Qing's face immediately revealed a worried expression as he anxiously said these words. Upon hearing Emo Qing's words, to one side, He Jilan's expression also tensed up as she worriedly said, "Based on Chou Zitao's strength, he can at least form 5 Shadow Talisman doppelganger. Even a 7th Seal practitioner would find it difficult to pull off a sneak attack with 5 Shadow Talisman doppelganger at the same time." At this moment, while Emo Qing and He Jilan were worried, chi streaks of dim cold light, accompanied by subtle sounds of breaking through the air, quietly attacked Emo Qingyun. Primordial Demonic Sound Pipa Talisman. Sensing the movements around him, Emo Qingyun did not dare to hesitate and immediately summoned the Primordial Demonic Sound Pipa Talisman. As soon as the Primordial Demonic Sound Lute Talisman was summoned, it emitted a magical sound wave that spread out like water ripples. Under the impact of this magical sound wave, Chou Zitao immediately let out a muffled groan, and his body's speed slowed down a bit. It seemed that, under the impact of the illusory sound wave, his mind had been damaged, and the fierceness of his attack had weakened a little. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. Emo Qingyun didn't hesitate when the magical sound wave bombarded Chou Zitao's mind. He swept his scorching halberd around him. Roar! As Emo Qingyun swept his scorching halberd, the scorching halberd shone with a red light and turned into a huge dragon halberd radiance. As soon as the dragon halberd radiance was formed, it was like a dragon emerging from the sea, circling around Emo Qingyun. Bang bang bang, under the impact of the dragon halberd radiance, a series of muffled sounds could be heard, and the figures hiding in the dark were forced out. In a short while, 5 figures hiding around Emo Qingyun were forced out by the dragon halberd radiance. However, as soon as the 5 figures appeared, they concealed themselves again and disappeared from Emo Qingyun's sight. Playing with concealment? Seeing Chou Zitao's actions, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly, and a playful look appeared in his eyes. Door of concealment. After that, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and used his martial soul super ability, Door of Concealment. As soon as the Door of Concealment was used on Emo Qingyun's body, his figure began to gradually disappear before everyone's eyes. Emo Qingyun disappeared? Seeing this, not only was Chou Zitao stunned, but even Emo Qing and Emo were dumbfounded. They really did not expect Emo Qingyun to have such a move. As such, if Chou Zitao wanted to deal with Emo Qingyun, the difficulty would undoubtedly increase by a lot. Immemorial Demon Revealing Mirror Talisman. At this moment, as Chou Zitao's face was filled with shock, a dazzling mirror shadow appeared above his body. As soon as the mirror shadow appeared, a dazzling light burst out and shone on his body. Under the light of the mirror shadow, the figures of Chou Zitao's Shadow Talisman doppelgangers gradually revealed themselves. Chou Zitao's Shadow Talisman doppelgangers revealed themselves? Seeing Chou Zitao's Shadow Talisman doppelgangers reveal themselves, Emo Qing was immediately stunned, unable to believe that this was real. Junior brother Emo is really too powerful. He actually has the means to destroy the Shadow Talisman doppelgangers of the Shadow Talisman sect. He beautiful eyes moved, her face was filled with excitement, but her heart was also filled with shock. How is this possible? How can you destroy my life shadow talisman doppelgangers? Seeing that his life shadow talisman doppelgangers had been destroyed, Cho Zitao's expression immediately became flustered, fear rising in his heart. This shadow talisman doppelgangers were his strongest technique, the source of his confidence, but it had been destroyed by Mo Qingyun. It had to be said that this blow was too big for him. More importantly, his figure was now exposed in front of Mo Qingyun, while Mo Qingyun's figure was hidden. The scene before him made him have the urge to vomit blood. This was simply a slap in the face. As a genius disciple of the Shadow Talisman sect, he, who was good at hiding his figure, was actually suppressed by someone in this aspect. To him, this was simply a naked humiliation. It was the greatest humiliation in his life. Plop! While Cho Zitao was sullen in his heart, one of his Shadow Talisman doppelgangers was pierced and destroyed by Mo Qingyun's halberd. After the Shadow Talisman doppelganger's body was pierced, it turned into a talisman and returned to its original form. Plop! With one of his Shadow Talisman doppelgangers destroyed, Cho Zitao, who was connected to it, immediately turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood. Plop plop plop. However, without waiting for Cho Zitao to regain his senses, his remaining 4 Shadow Talisman doppelgangers were also destroyed by Mo Qingyun's attack. Seeing his 5 Shadow Talisman doppelgangers being destroyed by Mo Qingyun in the blink of an eye, Cho Zitao's eyes widened. Cho Zitao's eyes immediately widened, dazed on the spot, not daring to believe that this was real. With regards to the dazed Cho Zitao, Mo Qingyun did not care about the latter's feelings, his tone cold as he said, "Now that your Shadow Talisman doppelgangers are gone, the current you seems to have become a tiger without claws and fangs." Mo Qingyun mocked as he slowly approached Cho Zitao, slowly revealing his figure. "You don't go too far." As he watched Mo Qingyun slowly approach, Cho Zitao's expression immediately became flustered. The gaze he used to look at Mo Qingyun with was filled with a strong sense of reverence. The methods that Mo Qingyun had just displayed had really given him too much of a shock, completely exceeding his expectations. Chapter 673. Too much. When he heard Cho Zitao's words, Mo Qingyun looked at him with disdain. He laughed coldly and said, "You should think carefully before you kill others. You can be killed by others too." Hidden door. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he didn't waste any more words with Cho Zitao. He used his martial soul's ability, Hidden Door, again. After that, Mo Qingyun's figure gradually disappeared in front of Cho Zitao's eyes. When he saw Mo Qingyun's figure disappear, Cho Zitao immediately panicked. His face turned pale. Mo Qingyun had concealed himself. This meant that Mo Qingyun was going to kill him. Mo Qingyun, don't hide. If you have the ability, come out and fight me." When he saw that Mo Qingyun had concealed himself, Cho Zitao immediately panicked. Since he couldn't sense Mo Qingyun's presence, he had to face Mo Qingyun's silent sneak attack. Could he block Mo Qingyun's sneak attack? The answer was obviously no. When he thought of this, Cho Zitao's heart sank. He felt a strong sense of oppression. Mo Qingyun chose to ignore Cho Zitao's shout. He continued to conceal himself and walked closer to Cho Zitao. The more Mo Qingyun didn't make a sound, the more panicked Cho Zitao became. This feeling was driving him crazy. At this moment, he finally understood how the people who had been killed by the Shadow Glyph sect's disciples felt before they died. Whoosh! At this moment, just as Cho Zitao's mind was about to crumble, a cold light pierced through the air and attacked his chest. Cho Zitao's expression changed when he felt the chill. He prepared to turn around and escape to avoid this fatal attack. Gravity suppression. However, just as Cho Zitao was about to turn around and leave, a mountain-like pressure pressed down on his body. Under this pressure, Cho Zitao's knees buckled. He couldn't help but half kneel on the ground. Pucci. As Cho Zitao knelt down, a crimson halberd appeared in front of him and pierced his chest forcefully. Then, fresh blood flowed from the wound and dyed Cho Zitao's clothes red. At the same time, the previously concealed Mo Qingyun gradually appeared in front of Cho Zitao. Cho Zitao's eyes widened as he watched Mo Qingyun pierce his own chest with the blazing halberd. He could not accept such an outcome. Pucci. Without waiting for Cho Zitao to speak, Mo Qingyun raised his hand and pulled out the blazing halberd that had pierced through Cho Zitao's body. As Mo Qingyun pulled out the blazing halberd, Cho Zitao's body lost its support and fell to the ground, dead. After killing Cho Zitao with a single halberd strike, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate at all. He moved to collect Cho Zitao's Qinquan bag and scoreboard. After collecting Cho Zitao's scoreboard, Mo Qingyun transferred Cho Zitao's points to his scoreboard. As he transferred Cho Zitao's points to himself, Mo Qingyun's points immediately soared and broke through the 1 billion mark. After a while, when Mo Qingyun's points stopped rising, his ranking had rushed to the first place. First place, Mo Qingyun, points, 1,308,638,550. Second place, Invincible Blade, points, 1,236,424, 620. Third place, Yuan Ba, points, 964,553, 720. Fourth place, Zhu Jinlan, points, 896,542,145. Fifth place, Chou Jianfeng, points, 832,886,725. Sixth place, Lu Chao, points, 803,729,565. Eighth place, Yuan Chong, points, 465,378, 225. Ninth place, Jin Yu, points, 439,812,195. A bright smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face as he looked at the points of the top few rankers. Finally, I'm in the first place. Seeing that he had entered the first place, Mo Qingyun was overjoyed. He smiled faintly and said, looking at it now, even if I don't kill Zhu Jinlan and the rest, as long as I kill another 2 people in the top 10, my ranking will still be stable in the first place. Right now, Mo Qingyun's face was filled with joy. Junior brother Mo is in the first place. By the side, Mo Qing and He Jilan both widened their eyes as their faces were filled with shock. Although they had guessed that Mo Qingyun's ranking would rush to the first place after he killed Cho Zitao, they were shocked. When they saw that Mo Qingyun had entered the first place, they were still very excited. Mo Qingyun, their junior brother, a disciple from the Six Seals sect, had actually rushed to the first place of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Such a thing had never happened in the past 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Outside the 10,000 World Valley, Mo Qingyun's ranking had rushed to the first place. At this moment, the crowd outside the Valley of the 10,000 Worlds was shocked when they saw that Mo Qingyun had rushed to the first place. The Invincible Blade had been surpassed by Mo Qingyun in the end. Could it be that the first place of this 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering would be Mo Qingyun? At this moment, this thought sprouted in everyone's minds and grew rapidly. When this thought appeared in everyone's minds, they felt that it was unreal. When Mo Qingyun entered the Valley of the 10,000 Worlds, he was only at the beginner stage of the 5th Seal Realm. A beginner stage of the 5th Seal Realm had actually become the first place of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. This was probably the first time in the history of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Qin Yun, first place? Fang Huaida's body trembled as he stood rooted to the ground. He could not accept this result for a long time. It seems like it. At this moment, Elder Su and the rest were also shocked by the scene in front of them. First place. Yu Xianxin and the rest narrowed their eyes as their heartbeats quickened. They looked at Fang Huaid and the rest with envy. They were both Six Seal sects, but why was the difference so huge? The Mao Fu sect had actually recruited such a genius. First place. When the Wild Talisman sect and the rest saw this scene, their faces twitched as they revealed dejected expressions. They knew that from the current situation, they would not be able to avenge Zhou Qing. With the talent that Mo Qingyun had displayed, the Nine Seal sect would definitely protect him. They would not allow anyone to harm Mo Qingyun. First place, he really is first place. When the Heavenly Demon Talisman sect's elder saw Mo Qingyun enter first place, he immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. He said excitedly, "Good. Good. Indeed, this brat did not disappoint me. Our Heavenly Demon Talisman sect must obtain him." When they heard the elder of the Sky Demon Talisman sect, the faces of Mo Qing and the rest changed as their expressions turned solemn. They knew that once the Sky Demon Talisman sect obtained Mo Qingyun, there would be a bloodbath in the Immortal Road. Of course, while he was guarding against the Sky Demon Talisman sect, he was also guarding against the other sections. Chapter 674. Compared to other people's shock and surprise, the people from the Shadow Talisman sect were in a terrible mood. Chou Zitao, the disciple who was second only to Chou Jianfeng in the Shadow Talisman sect, was killed by Mo Qingyun. The Shadow Talisman sect could not tolerate such hatred. Elder Chou Wan, Zitao's name disappeared from the ranking. "Do you think it's Mo Qingyun?" One of the elders from the Shadow Talisman sect asked the gray-robed elder with a serious expression. Zitao was killed by Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's points are the same as Zitao's. Chou Wan's face darkened when he heard the elder's words. He said coldly, "Mo Qingyun, you're just from the Six Seals sect. How dare you kill a disciple of the Shadow Talisman sect? Even if you're talented, I won't let you continue to grow." Hearing Chou Wan's words, the faces of the people at the side sank, and their expressions became gloomy. Mo Qingyun had to pay the price for killing Chou Zitao. Everyone outside the Valley of Myriad Worlds was shocked by Mo Qingyun's performance. The disciples of the various sects in the Valley of Myriad Worlds were also shocked when they saw Mo Qingyun enter the first place on the ranking. "First place? I didn't expect you to surpass me. I'm looking forward to fighting you." Invincible Blade was stunned when he saw that Mo Qingyun had surpassed him on the ranking. Then, he smiled brightly. Judging from his current expression, he didn't seem to care that his ranking had been surpassed. He only hoped to fight with Mo Qingyun. This kid actually entered the first place. Zhu Jinlan's face darkened when he saw that Mo Qingyun's ranking had increased again. He said coldly, "I'll let you be happy for a while. When I find you, I'll kill you." "Mo Qingyun, you're courting death. How dare you kill junior brother Zitao?" Chou Jianfeng immediately understood that Chou Zitao was killed by Mo Qingyun when he saw that his name had disappeared from the ranking. "The first place of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is mine. Brat, you dare to snatch it from me? You will definitely die." Seeing that Mo Qingyun had surpassed the Invincible Blade and rushed to the first place, Yuan Ba's body emitted a murderous aura. "This is getting more and more interesting." When Lu Chao saw Mo Qingyun's ranking, a sinister smile appeared on his face as he exuded a faint murderous vibe. "Hiss, Mo Qingyun is so terrifying. He actually killed his way into first place." Seeing the change in Mo Qingyun's ranking, the Sweeping Eagle's three demons' faces twitched as a sense of lingering fear rose in their hearts. The three of them actually dared to rob the champion of the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering. This was simply courting death. What was even more unbelievable to them was that they had actually survived after failing to rob Mo Qingyun. This was simply a miracle. "Big brother, look at those two." After a moment of shock, the three demons pointed at two young men who were facing each other on a hill. "That is Yuan Chong, the little tyrant from Tyrannical Talisman sect, and Jin Yu, the little painter from Elixir Talisman sect. Let's leave this place quickly." When the three demons pointed at the two of them, the pockmarked young man's face twitched as he revealed a strong sense of respect. I heard that the two of them are bloodthirsty. It's better for us to stay away from them. Looking at Yuan Chong and Jin Yu, the two demons' faces twitched as well as they revealed a sense of respect in their eyes. At this very moment, on the sand dune, Yuan Chong, the two of us have been fighting for 2 days without a clear winner. It's meaningless to continue fighting like this. Jin Yu revealed a sinister smile as he spoke to Yuan Chong. Then, he said, in my opinion, if the two of us want to determine the winner, perhaps we can use another method. Why don't you tell me how we can determine the winner? Hearing Jin Yu's words, Yuan Chong's expression changed slightly as he revealed a look of curiosity. During this period of time, that brat called Mo Qingyun has been very arrogant. His ranking has already charged to first place. When he spoke up to hear, Jin Yu's words paused for a moment, and his gaze revealed a trace of gloominess as he continued. How about this, the two of us will compete and see who kills Mo Qingyun first to decide the victor. Your suggestion isn't bad. We'll do as you say. Hearing Jin Yu's suggestion, Yuan Chong nodded his head in agreement. However, Yuan Chong's brows soon knitted tightly as he revealed a troubled expression as he said, "But the Myriad World Valley is so big. How can we find Mo Qingyun?" "You don't have to worry about this. I've already thought about it." Hearing Yuan Chong's words, Jin Yu smiled coldly and opened his mouth to say, "A few days ago, I heard from the Sword Talisman sect that Mo Qingyun was hit by the Sword Talisman sect's Blood Sword Rune Seal. They already discovered that Mo Qingyun is hiding in the south of the Sawtooth Rune Tiger Valley. There's actually such a thing." Hearing Jin Yu's words, Yuan Chong's expression changed slightly, revealing a look of surprise. Seeing Yuan Chong's surprised expression, Jin Yu smiled coldly and continued, "The Sawtooth Rune Tiger Valley isn't far from here. With the two of our speed, we only need roughly half a day's time." "Okay, we'll go right away." After hearing Jin Yu say this, Yuan Chong was not willing to hesitate anymore and prepared to immediately head over to kill Mo Qingyun. "Okay." Seeing Yuan Chong's impatient expression, the cold smile on Jin Yu's face immediately became even more pronounced. Following that, this Jin Yu led the way in front, bringing Yuan Chong to the place where Mo Qingyun was at. Looking at this Jin Yu's familiar actions, he should have had a premeditated plan. However, the Yuan Chong beside him did not discover it. Hence, in the following time, Jin Yu and Yuan Chong went to find Mo Qingyun together. Half a day later, 2 auras of half-a-step 7 seals closed in on Mo Qingyun's place with extreme speed. 2 auras of half-step 7 seals powerhouses. Could it be that 2 big fishes came? Sensing these 2 powerful auras, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. A look of intense pleasant surprise surfaced on his face. At this moment, Mo Qingyun had a feeling in his heart that the strength of these 2 people who arrived before his eyes should not be weaker than that Cho Zitao from before. This way, as long as he killed these 2 people, his ranking could stabilize at number 1. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was pondering in his heart, those 2 people emitting the aura of half-step 7 seals arrived in front of him with extreme speed. These 2 people arrived in front of Mo Qingyun. One of the youth with a rude and unreasonable expression said to Mo Qingyun in a cold voice, "Brat, have you seen a person called Mo Qingyun?" At this moment, the 2 people who arrived in front of Mo Qingyun were none other than precisely the Yuan Chong and Jin Yu from before. "What are you looking for Mo Qingyun for?" Hearing Yuan Chong's words, Mo Qingyun revealed an amused smile. The other party indeed came to look for him. At present, when Mo Qingyun's words fell, the Jin Yu by the side smiled sinisterly and said to the Yuan Chong by his side, "Yuan Chong, he's Mo Qingyun. However, I'll take Mo Qingyun's head first." When Jin Yu's words fell, he immediately took out a talisman and detonated it, showing the appearance of wanting to make a move against Mo Qingyun. "He's Mo Qingyun." Chapter 675. Ho ho. Is that so? Towards Yuan Chang's words, Jin Yu just smiled faintly, seemingly not caring about it. Not just that, after Yuan Chang made a move against Mo Qingyun at this moment, Jin Yu immediately stopped the movements of his hands. Following that, this Jin Yu revealed a sinister smile on his face, silently watching Yuan Chang make a move against Mo Qingyun by the side. Seeing Jin Yu's abnormal actions, Yuan Chang's brows immediately furrowed, feeling a trace of something amiss. Although he, Yuan Chang, had a violent personality and was impulsive, it did not mean that he was a fool. Just now, Jin Yu was still rushing to make a move against Mo Qingyun. But the moment he saw him make a move against Mo Qingyun, Jin Yu directly withstood it. One had to admit that Jin Yu's current actions were somewhat abnormal. Jin Yu, what's the meaning of this? At this instant, Yuan Chang faintly felt that he seemed to have been tricked by Jin Yu and said unhappily, "Didn't we agree previously that we'll make a move against Mo Qingyun together and see who can kill him first? Why aren't you making a move now? Am I not giving you a chance here?" Towards Yuan Chang's words, Jin Yu smiled sinisterly and replied, "If you can kill Mo Qingyun alone, wouldn't the bet between you and me be considered your win?" Hearing Jin Yu say so, Yuan Chang's expression changed slightly and did not feel that there was anything wrong either. Of course, the reason why Yuan Chang would think so was primarily because he felt that he could kill Mo Qingyun alone. Otherwise, the thoughts in his heart would probably be another way again. After a brief moment of musing, Yuan Chang revealed a smug cold smile and said to Jin Yu, "If that's the case, don't you regret not making a move to kill Mo Qingyun together with me later?" "Ho, you can rest assured about this. I, Jin Yu, have always kept my word." Hearing Yuan Chang's words, Jin Yu's face revealed a faint smile as he replied, continuing, however, "This Mo Qingyun's strength isn't weak. I think that you might not be able to deal with him." "Humph. You don't need to worry about this." Hearing this, Yuan Chang snorted coldly and said some displeased words. Seeing Jin Yu's actions, Mo Qingyun immediately understood Jin Yu's thoughts. He revealed a faint smile and said, "Jin Yu, you want me to make Yuan Chang and Yuan Chang fight. At that time, you reap the benefits of the fisherman. I'm afraid that you'll be disappointed." Yuan Chang was not a fool. After Mo Qingyun's words, he immediately understood the crux of the matter. "Jin Yu, you despicable villain, to actually want to do dirty work." Yuan Chang glared at Jin Yu and said, "Mo Qingyun, I was careless this time and got played by Jin Yu." After glaring angrily at Jin Yu, Yuan Chang turned his head to look at Mo Qingyun and discussed with Mo Qingyun, "Next, let's join hands and kill that brat? When the time comes, how about we split his points 30 to 70? 30-70? Hearing this Yuan Chang's words, Mo Qingyun's expression froze slightly, somewhat surprised by this Yuan Chang's plan. Hearing Yuan Chang's expression, Jin Yu's expression turned slightly intent. The expression on his face became somewhat solemn, and he said to Mo Qingyun, "Mo Qingyun, you mustn't fall for Yuan Chang's trick. In a while, you guys join hands to kill me. He'll definitely kill you too. Jin Yu, you don't need to sow discord here." Hearing Jin Yu's words, Yuan Chang's expression immediately became enraged. Turning around, he said to Mo Qingyun again, "How about this, Mo Qingyun, after you and I join hands to kill Jin Yu, we'll split the points on him 40 to 60. Me 60, you 40. 40-60? When Mo Qingyun heard that, the smile on his face became even wider, but he still shook his head. "Mo Qingyun, don't reach for a yard after taking an inch. You taking 40% is already quite a lot." Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Yuan Chang's expression immediately became displeased. He said in a cold tone, "You should know that in the following process of dealing with Jin Yu, it mainly still needs me to take action. You're just interfering with Jin Yu by the side." "Hoo, Yuan Chang, you don't need to think of coaxing Mo Qingyun anymore. He won't fall for your trick." Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Jin Yu's expression involuntarily eased up. His heart that was originally in suspense put down. In his view, Mo Qingyun and Yuan Chong probably could not come to an agreement. The moment he heard Jin Yu's words, Yuan Chong revealed an expression of gnashing his teeth in hatred. Looking at Mo Qingyun, his expression was grim as he said, Mo Qingyun, this is my final concession. The points on Jin Yu will split 50-50. No. You've misunderstood my meaning. Seeing that Yuan Chong still did not understand his meaning, Mo Qingyun immediately shook his head. His face revealed a brilliant smile as he explained, if that's the case, I'll say it a little more clearly. What I mean is, I want the points on you, and I want the points on him too. The moment Mo Qingyun's words came out of his mouth, Jin Yu and Yuan Chong's expressions froze, being extremely surprised by Mo Qingyun's words. They seriously did not think that Mo Qingyun would actually be so insatiably greedy, wanting to take both of their points. Quite the tone. I want to see if you have this ability or not. Mo Qingyun, want to snatch my points, better wait until you defeat Yuan Chong first. After a brief moment of musing, Yuan Chong and Jin Yu, the two people, both revealed cold expressions as they said a sentence of furious words to Mo Qingyun. Want to snatch my points? With just you, Mo Qingyun, it's still not enough. Yuan Chong's face revealed a gloomy expression. After saying those furious words, he made a move against Mo Qingyun once more. Limitless tyrannical body talisman. Yuan Chong said a gloomy sentence. He then took out a talisman from within his body, and activated it to augment his body. The moment this talisman augmented Yuan Chong's body erupted with a resplendent golden light. Activated the limitless tyrannical body talisman. Looking at it like this, Yuan Chong is planning on ending the battle quickly. Seeing Yuan Chong's actions at this moment, the smile on Jin Yu's face grew even wider as he said with a cold smile, Yuan Chong, since you've activated the limitless tyrannical body talisman, I want to see what you have to fight with me next. Mo Qingyun, prepare to die. At present, when that Jin Yu harbored ulterior motives, Yuan Chong's face revealed a rude and unreasonable expression as he swiftly rushed towards Mo Qingyun. Seeing Yuan Chong rushing towards him with extreme speed, Mo Qingyun's brows furrowed slightly. Holding the Moxibustion flame halberd in his hand, he stabbed out towards Yuan Chong. Clank! Following the Moxibustion flame halberd smashing onto Yuan Chong's body, a crisp sound immediately rang out. However, it did not pierce through Yuan Chong's body. Thump! Thump! Receiving Mo Qingyun's halberd bombardment, Yuan Chong was immediately blasted back repeatedly, leaving behind a series of deep footprints on the ground. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that under this halberd of his, apart from being blasted back, Yuan Chong did not seem to have suffered any injuries. Mo Qingyun, under the augmentation of the limitless tyrannical body talisman, I, Yuan Chong, am invincible. You can't breach my defense. Seeing that he was fine after forcefully withstanding Mo Qingyun's halberd, Yuan Chong's face revealed a pleased smile, as if victory was already within his grasp. Yuan Chong, you're being cocky too early. Chapter 676. Primordial Fiend Melody Lute Artifact Talisman. The moment Mo Qingyun's words faded, he took out the Primordial Fiend Melody Lute Artifact Talisman and activated it without the slightest hesitation. The moment the Primordial Fiend Melody Lute Artifact Talisman was activated, it immediately flourished with a brilliant light, transforming into a jade lute shadow. Following that, one wave after another of magical sound waves like water waves emitted from the strings of the lute shadow, spreading out towards the surroundings with extreme speed. Under the rapid impact of this magical sound wave, Yuan Chong, who bore the brunt of the impact, was instantly blasted, his soul receiving the intense impact of the magical sound wave. Pooh work! With his soul receiving the impact of the magical sound wave, Yuan Chong's complexion immediately turned pale, vomiting out some fresh blood from his mouth. Following that, Yuan Chang's consciousness became absent-minded, his gaze becoming empty and lifeless, his entire person like he lost his soul. Seeing Yuan Chong lose the strength to fight under the impact of the magical sound wave, Mo Qingyun no longer paid attention to him and turned his head to look at Jin Yu by the side. Mo Qingyun said coldly, "Since Yuan Chong already lost the battle, next, it's the time to take care of you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jin Yu's expression immediately became solemn, his eyes revealing some dread. He seriously did not expect that Yuan Chong, whose strength was on par with his, would actually display so weak under Mo Qingyun's attack. Such a scene happening made Jin Yu unconsciously view Mo Qingyun a bit higher in his heart. Mo Qingyun, I admit that you're very capable to actually finish Yuan Chong off so easily. But I'm different from Yuan Chong. Jin Yu looked at Mo Qingyun with a solemn expression. After saying those cold words, he continued, "If you want to defeat me, it absolutely won't be so simple. Following this, I'll let you experience our Pill Seal School's method. Void-shattering pill talisman." The moment Jin Yu's words fell, he took out a talisman from within his body and activated this talisman without the slightest hesitation. Under the augmentation of this void-shattering pill talisman, Jin Yu's cultivation immediately rose, breaking through the realm of 7 seals in a blink of an eye. After a moment, when the aura on Jin Yu's body stabilized, his cultivation already reached peak 7th seal initial stage. Mo Qingyun, there's an entire realm of difference between our cultivations. I'd like to see how you're going to fight me. Activating the original elixir talisman in his body and raising his cultivation to the 7th seal, Jin Yu looked at Mo Qingyun proudly. "Is this what you're relying on? If that's the case, I'll cripple your backing." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he heard this. His gaze was filled with deep meaning as he looked at Jin Yu and said, "In addition, let me tell you something else. You think too highly of yourself. Actually, in my eyes, you're even worse than Yuan Chong. Seal gate, seal for me." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he did not waste words with Jin Yu and directly executed the martial soul divine ability, Sealed Gate. Following that, a miniature version of the light door condensed and formed in Mo Qingyun's hand with extreme speed, blasting towards Jin Yu in a domineering manner. Seeing Mo Qingyun execute the martial soul divine ability, Jin Yu's expression immediately turned serious, his gaze revealing a look of dread. Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman. Jin Yu's wrist shook, and he quickly took out a talisman and activated it, wanting to use it to block the sealed gate. After the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman was activated, a terrifying aura was emitted from within, heading towards the sealed gate. "Explode for me." After the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman and the sealed gate approached, Jin Yu's expression fell, and he formed hand seals to detonate it. Bang! After a loud bang, the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman exploded, transforming into a terrifying storm, swallowing the sealed gate inside. Seeing the sealed gate being engulfed by the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman storm, a brilliant smile surfaced on Jin Yu's face, his expression revealing a trace of complacency. But very soon, the smile on Jin Yu's face froze. His face revealed intense shock. How is this possible? How can the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman not be able to block that light door? At this moment, Jin Yu discovered to his shock that the Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman's talisman energy storm actually did not cause the slightest bit of damage to the sealed gate. The Level 7 talisman, Heavenly Flame Pill Explosion Talisman, was actually ineffective against the sealed gate. This result far exceeded his expectations. Swish! At present, while Jin Yu was shocked in his heart, the sealed gate passed through the force storm with extreme speed, slamming onto his body domineeringly. Following that, Jin Yu felt his divine soul tremble, suffering a tyrannical power suppressing and sealing. Poo work! Under the suppression of this tyrannical power, It immediately made Jin Yu's mind suffer damage, vomiting a mouthful of fresh blood from his mouth. Following that, the aura on Jin Yu's body started weakening rapidly. Before long, when Jin Yu's cultivation went from peak initial stage 7th seal, it fell to peak middle stage 6th seal. Peak middle stage 6th seal. Sensing his own cultivation falling, Jin Yu's complexion immediately turned pale, revealing a strong sense of terror as he said, How can it be like this? Why did my cultivation fall? Towards Jin Yu's shocking words, Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to it. Looking at him with an indifferent expression, he said, Now, your reliance is already gone. Next, it's time to send you on your way. Concealed gate. When Mo Qingyun's words faded, he no longer hesitated and immediately displayed the martial soul divine ability, Concealed Gate. The Concealed Gate was applied onto Mo Qingyun's body. His figure gradually faded, slowly vanishing before Jin Yu's eyes. Vanished. Seeing Mo Qingyun's figure vanish, Jin Yu's expression immediately twitched, becoming even more fearful of Mo Qingyun as he said incoherently, I am possible. How do you know the Shadow Talisman sex concealment method? At this moment, seeing Mo Qingyun display shocking means time and time again, Jin Yu was already unable to maintain calm anymore. After a brief moment of panic, Jin Yu did not dare to continue staying any longer. An intention to retreat sprouted in his heart. At this moment, he had a feeling in his heart that if he still did not leave, he would probably really have to hand it over today. Flee! The moment this thought arose in Jin Yu's heart, he no longer hesitated and immediately turned around, wanting to flee. Seeing Jin Yu's actions, Mo Qingyun revealed a hint of a faint smile, his gaze revealing a hint of mockery. Gravity suppression. Following that, Mo Qingyun arrived beside Jin Yu with a flash, releasing the power of Earth. Following Mo Qingyun releasing the power of Earth, a pressure comparable to a small mountain immediately descended onto Jin Yu's body. Under the suppression of this pressure, Jin Yu's legs immediately went soft, his body leaning forward, and his action of fleeing was also stopped. Not only that, when Jin Yu's body was leaning forward, a halberd that emitted a shocking heat wave pierced into his chest domineeringly. Swish! Under the overbearing impact of the halberd, it instantly pierced Jin Yu's clothes, piercing through his chest. A halberd piercing through Jin Yu's chest, Mo Qingyun's figure gradually revealed, standing in front of Jin Yu with a calm expression. Looking at Mo Qingyun who revealed his figure before him, Jin Yu's eyes widened, revealing an expression of disbelief. He, Jin Yu, a genius whose talent was second only to Lu Chao in the Pill Talisman sect, a Heaven's Pride ranked in the top 10 of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Association, was actually killed by a 6th seal initial stage brat at this moment. Swish! Chapter 677. As Mo Qingyun pulled out the blazing halberd, Jin Yu's eyes widened as he fell forward unwillingly. Looking at Jin Yu who fell in front of him, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and took away his Qiankuan bag and scoreboard. After taking away Jin Yu's Qiankuan bag and scoreboard, Mo Qingyun turned his head and looked at Yuan Chong who was at the side, preparing to kill Yuan Chong. Glancing at Yuan Chong indifferently, Mo Qingyun revealed a cold expression and slowly walked towards Yuan Chong. At that moment, Yuan Chong was under the impact of the magical sound wave and was completely in a trance. He was completely unaware of Mo Qingyun's approach. Arriving in front of Yuan Chong, Mo Qingyun glanced at him coldly and raised his hand to grab his head. Grabbing Yuan Chong's head with one hand, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately blasted a soul power into Yuan Chong's head. The moment the soul power blasted into Yuan Chong's mind, it caused a strong impact on his soul, instantly causing Yuan Chong's soul to be injured again. Poof! With his soul being injured again, Yuan Chong's face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, under this attack of Mo Qingyun's, Yuan Chong's consciousness recovered. Mo Qingyun, if you have the ability, fight me head-on. Regaining consciousness, Yuan Chong immediately glared at Mo Qingyun with his eyes wide open, wishing he could skin Mo Qingyun and pull out his tendons. Even if we fight head-on, you have no chance at all. As Mo Qingyun's words fell, he raised his hand and waved it in the air, drawing strange runes. Once these runes were drawn, they emitted a strong formation power, causing one's expression to change unconsciously. Formation. Formation. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Yuan Chang's expression immediately twitched. He was extremely shocked by Mo Qingyun's methods. He could not imagine that a kid from the Six Seals sect would know such a powerful move. With Mo Qingyun's current abilities, even in the Nine Seals sect, he would most likely be considered a genius. Heaven-burning meteor flame array, rise. While Yuan Chong was still in shock, the formation runes drawn by Mo Qingyun suddenly shone brightly, turning into a red light curtain that shrouded Yuan Chong. Yuan Chong's expression immediately tensed up when he saw the array formation's light screen coming towards him. He wanted to turn around and escape to prevent himself from being trapped by the array formation's light screen. Gravity suppression. However, Yuan Chong did not turn around to flee. He felt a terrifying pressure pressing down on him. Under the pressure of this gravity, Yuan Chong immediately felt his legs go soft. He staggered and almost fell. However, although Yuan Chong did not directly fall, he also lost the opportunity to escape because of this delay, and was directly enveloped by the meteorite flame sky burning array. Seeing that the meteorite flame sky burning array had enveloped Yuan Chong, Mo Qingyun said coldly, Yuan Chong, although your limitless tyrant body talisman is not bad, I don't believe that you can activate it without limit. After saying this coldly, Mo Qingyun activated the meteorite flame sky burning array and bombarded Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation. Then, streaks of meteorite flames that were enough to force a Seven Seals elite to dodge were rapidly condensed in the array formation and bombarded Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation. Mo Qingyun, you cowardly scoundrel! If you have the ability, then fight me head-on. Looking at the meteorite flames that were rapidly approaching him, Yuan Chong was immediately enraged and roared loudly at Mo Qingyun. However, Mo Qingyun chose to ignore his roars and focused on controlling the meteorite flame sky burning array to bombard him. As Mo Qingyun controlled the meteorite flame sky burning array and bombarded Yuan Chong continuously, Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation, gradually admitted defeat. Mo Qingyun, I was wrong. What do I have to do for you to let me go? I made a move against you this time because I was bewitched by Jinyu. Can you give me a chance to turn over a new leaf? Mo Qingyun, there was originally no enmity between you and me. Why must you wholeheartedly kill me and become enemies with the tyrannical talisman sect? Seeing that he was unable to maintain the peerless tyrant body talisman, Yuan Chong revealed an anxious expression and started to beg Mo Qingyun for mercy. When Mo Qingyun saw Yuan Chong's performance, he looked at Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation, with ridicule and said indifferently, to me, whether you were bewitched by Jinyu or not is not important. Since you chose to make a move against me, then you will have to suffer my revenge. After replying to Yuan Chong, Mo Qingyun revealed a disdainful expression and said, also, let me tell you one more thing. A tiny tyrannical talisman sect is nothing in my eyes. After replying to Jinyu, Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold and indifferent as he continued to control the sky-burning meteorite flame array to bombard Yuan Chong. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was unwilling to let him go, Yuan Chong's expression immediately became venomous as he angrily said, Mo Qingyun, I'm a genius of the tyrannical talisman sect. If you kill me, even if you enter the Nine Seals sect, the tyrannical talisman sect will not let you off. You don't have to worry about that. Mo Qingyun indifferently replied to Yuan Chong and revealed an impatient expression as he continued, you came together with Jinyu. Now that Jinyu has already been killed by me, I'd better send you to accompany him. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he activated the sky-burning meteorite flame array with all his might and crazily bombarded Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation. Following that, under the crazy bombardment of the sky-burning meteorite flame array, some injuries gradually appeared on Yuan Chong's body. From the looks of it, he had already reached a limit in maintaining the peerless tyrant body talisman and was gradually losing strength. Seeing that, Mo Qingyun's expression became even colder as he attacked Yuan Chong even more fiercely. After a short while, Yuan Chong, who was within the array formation, was finally unable to withstand the bombardment of the meteorite flames and was killed by the array with an unwilling expression. After using the sky-burning meteorite flame array to kill Yuan Chong, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed as he arrived beside Yuan Chong's corpse and took away his Qiankuan bag and scoreboard. After taking out Yuan Chong's Qiankuan bag and scoreboard, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately transferred all of Yuan Chong's and Jin Yu's points to his scoreboard. With the addition of Jin Yu's and Jin Yu's points, Mo Qingyun's points immediately rose rapidly and broke through 2 billion in the blink of an eye. First place, Mo Qingyun, points, 22465386620. Second place, Invincible Blade, points, 14354266620. Third place, Yuan Ba, 1,544,653,720 point. Fourth place, Zhu Jinlan, points, 116532140. Fifth place, Chou Jianfeng, points, 112786625. Sixth place, Lu Chao, points, 998726560. Seeing the situation of the top 10, the smile on Mo Qingyun's face became even wider. It seemed that his chances of becoming the champion of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering had increased. I have already surpassed Invincible Blade by 800 million points. Seeing the difference in points between himself and Invincible Blade, Mo Qingyun revealed a bright smile and thought, there is still 1.5 days left before the end of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. If nothing goes wrong, I should be able to secure the first place. However, to be safe, I still need to obtain more points. Although there was a difference of 800 million points between him and Invincible Blade, Mo Qingyun did not dare to be careless. After all, the reward for becoming the champion of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering was related to whether he could return to the Tianhan continent. Chapter 678. Outside the Myriad World Valley. When everyone saw the changes on the light screen, their expressions immediately changed. Their faces were filled with intense shock. Mo Qingyun's points had exceeded 2 billion. Apart from that, Yuan Chong, who was ranked 8th, and Jin Yu, who was ranked 9th, had disappeared from the light screen. Didn't that mean that Yuan Chong and Jin Yu were dead? Judging from Mo Qingyun's points, Jin Yu and Yuan Chong might have been killed by Mo Qingyun. Do you think that Jin Yu and Yuan Chong were killed by Mo Qingyun? It's possible that Mo Qingyun's points are equal to the total of Jin Yu and Yuan Chong's points. Hiss. Mo Qingyun is crazy. He even killed Jin Yu and Yuan Chong. Doesn't that mean that Mo Qingyun has made enemies with 4 of the 5 Absolute Sect? At that moment, everyone was shocked by the discovery. Mo Qingyun's actions were crazy. A disciple of the 6 Seals sect dared to kill the disciples of the 5 Absolute sect. Only Mo Qingyun would do that. Elder Qiuwan, Elder Yuanda, and Elder Jin Kai, this Mo Qingyun is arrogant and has killed our disciples one after another. What do the 3 of you think? Seeing that the disciples of the Tyrannical Talisman sect, Shadow Talisman sect, and Elixir Talisman sect had been killed by Mo Qingyun, an elder from the Sword Talisman sect asked for their opinion. Even if Mo Qingyun is talented, he has to pay a painful price for killing the genius disciples of the Tyrannical Talisman sect, Yuanda said while gritting his teeth. Although Yuan Chang's talent in the tyrannical talisman sect was not as good as Yuan Ba's, Yuan Chong was his grandnephew and was considered his direct descendant. Now that he was killed by Mo Qingyun in the Myriad World Valley, how could he let go of such hatred easily? This Mo Qingyun is merely from a 6 seal sect. Now that he has killed the disciples of 5 8 seal sects, he must be severely punished. The silver-haired elder from the Wild Talisman sect interjected when he saw the disciples of the 4 unique sects being killed by Mo Qingyun. In his opinion, if this was the case, there might be hope for Zhou Qing's revenge. This matter is not urgent for now. Once the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering is over, we will report it to the elders of the 9 Seals sect. Seeing everyone's reaction, Jin Kai's expression turned cold. He suggested to everyone, with us 5 sects appearing together, I think even the 9 Seals sect will have to be wary. Hearing Jin Kai's words, Cho Wan and the others nodded in agreement with Jin Kai's suggestion. This Mo Qingyun is truly audacious. He actually killed the genius disciples of the 4 unique sects. Upon seeing this scene, a blue-cloved elder from the Blade Talisman sect could not help but exclaim, "This Mo Qingyun is not bad. It's a pity that his background is slightly inferior." Hearing the elder's words, Zhu Wuing let out a sigh and said, "This Mo Qingyun is extremely talented and has a ferocious heart. If he has a good background, he will definitely achieve great things in the future. I hope he can overcome this crisis." Elder Wuing is right. If Mo Qingyun is a disciple of our Blade Talisman sect, we won't have to worry about the revenge of the 4 unique sects. Upon hearing Zhu Wuing's words, the blue-cloved elder nodded and said, "However, with the talent that Mo Qingyun has displayed, I'm afraid the 9 Seals sect will protect him with all their might." "It's not that simple." Zhu Wuing shook his head when he heard that. His expression became rather heavy as he said in a deep voice, "Mo Qingyun hasn't joined any sect yet. The various 9 Seal sects will protect him greatly. However, once he decides to join a 9 Seal sect, the other 9 Seal sects won't allow him to continue growing." Upon hearing Zhu Wuing's words, the people from the Blade Talisman sect fell silent. Their hearts turned heavy. They clearly understood the meaning behind Zhu Wuing's words. The 9 Seals sects were currently in a state of balance. Mo Qingyun's appearance could possibly break this balance. If that was the case, the various 9 Seal sects would naturally not allow Mo Qingyun to break the balance before them. Therefore, the 9 Seals sects that did not have Mo Qingyun would naturally not allow Mo Qingyun to continue growing. This kid actually killed the genius disciples of the 4 unique sects. I'm afraid there will be a lot of trouble in the future. That's right. The 4 unique sects are not like the Wild Talisman sect. There are some old fellows behind them. In that case, Mo Qingyun has become a hot potato. If we take him in, I'm afraid the 4 unique sects will be unhappy. Upon seeing this scene, the expressions of Mo Qing and the rest turned solemn. Their faces were filled with a strong sense of difficulty. At this moment, they were somewhat hesitant about recruiting Mo Qingyun. Compared to Mo Qing and the rest, the Sky Demon Talisman sect Elder Li Fan's thoughts were completely opposite. The 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is a life-and-death experience. Those kids can only blame themselves for being too weak when they were killed by Mo Qingyun. Li Fan's face was filled with disdain as he spoke. He then continued, "If that's the case, shouldn't those 6 Seals and 7 Seals sects' ordinary disciples also join forces to protest and take revenge after being killed by the 8 Seals sects' disciples?" Upon hearing Li Fan's words, Mo Qing and the rest were at a loss for words. They could not refute Li Fan. Li Fan's words were not wrong. In the eyes of the crowd, the so-called right and wrong was simply whether one was powerful enough or not. If one was powerful enough, even if one was wrong, no one would dare to refute one. However, if one was not powerful enough, even if one was right, the truth would be distorted by others. one would be accused of being wrong. This was the so-called saying that one's words carried little weight. Inside the Myriad World Valley, as Mo Qingyun killed Yuan Chong and Jin Yu, Mo Qingyun's level of terror in the hearts of the crowd immediately rose rapidly. Senior brother Wang Xiao, Mo Qingyun killed Jin Yu and Yuan Chong. Should I still find trouble with him? Mo Qingyun is not someone we can deal with. Even if we are punished by the Sword Talisman sect, we can't provoke him anymore. With Mo Qingyun's current strength, I'm afraid even if Zhu Jinlan takes action personally, he can't do anything to him. At that moment, the disciples of the Sword Talisman sect who were dependent on the Sword Talisman sect dismissed the idea of killing Mo Qingyun. They were very clear that with the fighting strength that Mo Qingyun had displayed, no one in the Myriad World Valley could suppress him. However, the thoughts of Zhu Jinlan and the others were exactly the opposite of these disciples. Damn Mo Qingyun! He killed Jin Yu and Yuan Chong. If I had known earlier, I would have killed him as soon as he entered the Myriad World Valley. I will reach the Sawtooth Talisman Tiger Valley in 1 day's time. Mo Qingyun, prepare to die. Mo Qingyun, no matter how many points you get, they will all belong to me, Yuan Badeo. Mo Qingyun, I didn't want to take action against you. However, you killed the disciples of the Elixir Talisman sect. You can't blame me for this. Even I, Invincible Blade, dare not kill the genius disciples of the 4 unique sects. Mo Qingyun, you are indeed extraordinary. At that moment, Invincible Blade and the rest were flying at full speed towards the Sawtooth Talisman Tiger Valley. Chapter 679. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. In a secluded valley in the south of the serrated Tiger Valley. This is strange. Why hasn't anyone come to kill me for a whole day? Mo Qingyun frowned when he saw that no one had come to kill him even after an entire day had passed. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the Mo Qing duo by the side immediately revealed gloomy expressions. In the Myriad World Valley, Mo Qingyun was probably the only one who thought that others would come to kill him. Seeing the bitter looks on their faces, Mo Qingyun frowned and started to think, this can't go on. It seems like I have to take the initiative to attack. As no one had come to kill Mo Qingyun for a whole day, Mo Qingyun realized that the gap between him and Invincible Blade had shrunk to only 300 million points. There was only half a day left before the end of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. If he still did not increase his points, he might be overtaken by Invincible Blade. Therefore, in order to ensure that he could get the first place in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering, Mo Qingyun decided to stay and take the initiative to snatch the points of other disciples. Senior brother Mo, senior sister Jilan, let's go. Mo Qingyun made a decision in his heart. He gave Mo Qing and Mo Qingyun some instructions before he got up and left the place. Okay. Hearing Mo Qingyun's instructions, Mo Qing and Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and hurriedly followed after him. Not long after Mo Qingyun and the other 2 left, 4 figures flew towards the place at an extremely fast speed. All of them were emitting a terrifying aura. These 4 figures were none other than Zhu Jinlan and the other 3 who were rushing towards the place at an extremely fast speed. When Zhu Jinlan and the other 3 arrived, they were surprised when they did not see Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun is not here? Did he leave the place? Humph. I didn't expect Mo Qingyun to run away in advance. At least he knows his place. He can't run away. As long as we sense the Crimson Sword seal on him, we can find him easily. In that case, we don't have to hesitate anymore. Let's go after that guy immediately. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was no longer here, Zhu Jinlan and the rest did not stay any longer, and immediately set off to chase after Mo Qingyun. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun must have been afraid of being hunted down by them, so he left in fear. Mo Qingyun has already left? Just as Zhu Jinlan and the other 3 left, a figure arrived at an extremely fast speed. There was a look of astonishment on his face. After a brief moment of surprise, the figure revealed a faint smile and muttered to himself, "Emo Qingyun has been struck by the blood sword symbol. It will be very easy for Zhu Jinlan to find him. In that case, I only need to follow Zhu Jinlan and the others." After thinking about this, the figure did not continue to stay and chased after Zhu Jinlan and the others. At that moment, while Zhu Jinlan and the others were looking for Emo Qingyun was frantically seizing points. With Emo Qingyun's frantic seizing of points, his points immediately rose rapidly, once again widening the gap between him and Invincible Blade and the others. About half a day later, the gap between Emo Qingyun and Invincible Blade's points had once again widened to 500 million points. In that case, my first place should be secure. Seeing the gap between him and Invincible Blade, Emo Qingyun's face revealed a bright smile, and his suspended heart was slightly relieved. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, at that moment, just as Emo Qingyun was feeling happy, 4 figures flew towards him at an extremely fast speed, emitting a cold aura from their bodies. In a short while, the 4 figures arrived in front of Emo Qingyun, looking at Emo Qingyun with a gloomy and cold expression. The 4 figures were naturally Zhu Jinlan and the others who were searching for Emo Qingyun. "You're finally here." Looking at Zhu Jinlan and the other 3 in front of him, Emo Qingyun's face revealed a faint smile. He was slightly surprised and said, "I didn't expect the 4 of you to come together. This is really a surprise. Emo Qingyun, let's see where you can escape to this time." Zhu Jinlan's face was ferocious, and he glared at Emo Qingyun fiercely. He sneered proudly and said, "You think you can escape from our pursuit after leaving the southern part of the Sawtooth Rune Tiger Valley? Let me tell you, as long as you don't remove the Crimson Sword rune seal on your body, you will never be able to escape from the pursuit of our Sword Rune sect." When Zhu Jinlan said those cold words, Chou Jianfeng's face also darkened. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said coldly, "Emo Qingyun, without Invincible Blade's intervention this time, I'll see if you can get away with it." At this moment Yuanba also sneered. He raised his head and said arrogantly, "Emo Qingyun, originally, I, Yuanba, disdained to take action against you. However, you shouldn't have snatched 2 billion points and rushed to the first place of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. Emo Qingyun, originally, I just wanted to watch a good show. However, since you killed the people of my Pill Rune sect, you can't blame me for this." Jin Yu said coldly to Emo Qingyun, with a gloomy expression and a trace of killing intent in his eyes. At this moment, Zhu Jinlan and the others were coldly saying those cold words to Emo Qingyun. A figure flew over rapidly. As the figure approached, he laughed at Emo Qingyun and said, "Emo Qingyun, you really didn't disappoint me. You're much stronger than these few pieces of trash." Invincible Blade. When Zhu Jinlan and the others saw the approaching figure, their expressions froze and their eyes were filled with intense fear. They didn't expect Invincible Blade to come as well. If Invincible Blade intervened later, it would be troublesome for them to deal with Emo Qingyun. "It seems that I'm afraid I'll have to fight with you for the time being." Seeing Invincible Blade's arrival, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, "Why don't you wait at the side for a while? After I've dealt with these 4 guys, I'll fight with you to my heart's content." Invincible Blade and the others were stunned when they heard Emo Qingyun's words. They were shocked by Emo Qingyun's words at this moment. Judging from Emo Qingyun's words, it seemed that he wanted to kill Zhu Jinlan and the other 3 by himself. It was undeniable that Emo Qingyun's words were too arrogant. "With these 4 guys here, it's true that we can't fight to our heart's content. In that case, I'll join forces with you to kill them first." After being stunned for a short while, Invincible Blade smiled faintly at Emo Qingyun and decided to join forces with Emo Qingyun to kill Zhu Jinlan and the other 3. From Invincible Blade's point of view, It was indeed very uncomfortable for him to be watched covetously by Zhu Jinlan and the other three while he was fighting with Mo Qingyun. In that case, it would be better to get rid of Zhu Jinlan and the other three before he fought with Mo Qingyun, so as to avoid trouble when they fought later. Invincible Blade, don't go too far. Hearing Invincible Blade's words, Zhu Jinlan and the other three's faces twitched and their expressions instantly became solemn. They were very clear about Invincible Blade's strength in their hearts. If Invincible Blade really intervened, although he might not be able to kill them, he could still pin them down. In that case, it would be very troublesome for the four of them to deal with Mo Qingyun. No need. I alone am enough to deal with the four of them. Chapter 680. You want to deal with them alone? Seeing that Mo Qingyun had rejected his good intentions, the Invincible Blade's expression immediately froze, revealing a look of surprise. He really didn't expect Mo Qingyun to have such a plan. It was too crazy. In his opinion, even if he were to fight Zhu Jinlan and the other three alone, he would not have much confidence in winning. Subsequently, the way the Invincible Saber looked at Mo Qingyun also changed. Yes. In response to Invincible Blade's surprised words, Mo Qingyun looked serious and nodded at him. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was so insistent, Invincible Blade did not say anything more and walked to the side silently. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had rejected Invincible Blade's help, Zhu Jinlan and the others were relieved and sneered proudly. Mo Qingyun, since you are looking for death, don't blame us. Originally, I was worried that Invincible Blade would intervene and it would be troublesome for us to deal with you. I didn't expect you to solve it for us. Mo Qingyun, you are too arrogant. I will let you pay the price for your arrogance. At that moment, Zhu Jinlan and the others sneered and said proudly to Mo Qingyun. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun's action was no different from looking for death. Cut the crap, let's do it. Invincible Blade is waiting for me to fight with him. Mo Qingyun revealed an impatient expression when he saw the behavior of Zhu Jinlan and the others, and urged them to hurry up. Mo Qingyun, since you are in a hurry to be reincarnated, we will fulfill your wish. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Zhu Jinlan's face darkened and he stopped talking nonsense with Mo Qingyun. Then, Zhu Jinlan and the others took out their life talismans and wanted to crush Mo Qingyun with their strongest move. Boom, boom, boom. However, at that moment, when Zhu Jinlan and the others were about to take action, the ground of the Valley of the Myriad Worlds suddenly shook. After this discovery, everyone's expression immediately changed, revealing a look of surprise. After a brief moment of shock, Invincible Blade and the others understood the reason for the commotion in the Valley of the Myriad Worlds. It was time for the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, and the people in the Myriad World Valley were about to be forcefully sent out. The assessment of the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering is over. We are unable to make a move against Mo Qingyun. Damn it, the assessment ended at this time. That brat managed to avoid another calamity. Mo Qingyun, you don't have to be so proud. Once we leave the Myriad World Valley, we will slowly deal with you. Mo Qingyun, let's continue our battle outside the Myriad Worlds Valley. After such a discovery, Invincible Blade and the others were all in different moods. They told Mo Qingyun one after another. Good. After leaving the Myriad World Valley, I will definitely fight you with all my strength. Hearing Invincible Blade's words, Mo Qingyun replied with a faint smile. As for what Zhu Jinlan and the others said, he directly chose to ignore them. At that moment, after Mo Qingyun's words fell, he felt an overbearing force forcefully sending him out of the Myriad World Valley. After a while, Mo Qingyun saw the scene in front of him blurring, and his figure disappeared from the spot. After a while, when Mo Qingyun saw the scene in front of him clearly, he was already outside the Myriad World Valley. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that when he arrived outside the Myriad World Valley, Invincible Blade was also by his side. Seeing this, Emo Qingyun's face turned grave. He said to Emo Qing and He Jilan, who were beside him, Senior Brother Emo, Senior Sister Jilan, go to the Supreme Elder's side first. Alright, Junior Brother Emo, be careful. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Emo Qing and He Jilan nodded their heads in response. They then said some words of concern to Emo Qingyun. After Emo Qing and He Jilan instructed Emo Qingyun, they stood up and walked towards Fang Huide and the others. They clearly knew that in the current situation, if the two of them were to stay, they would only become burdens and burdens. With regards to Emo Qing and He Jilan's departure, Zhu Jinlan and the others did not bother about them. Their expressions were cold as they looked at Emo Qingyun and said, Emo Qingyun, prepare to die. After Zhu Jinlan and the others' words fell, they no longer hesitated and started to attack Emo Qingyun. Stop! However, just as Zhu Jinlan and the others were about to attack, elderly Fan of the Sky Demon Talisman sect was displeased. He scolded the few of them. Now that the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering has ended, it is time for the ranking. You are not allowed to attack others. As soon as Li Fan spoke, he released his own aura and pressed it toward Zhu Jinlan and the others. Feeling the pressure from Li Fan's aura, Zhu Jinlan and the others' faces immediately twitched. They looked at Li Fan in awe and said respectfully, Yes, Elder. Li Fan did not pay any attention to Zhu Jinlan and the others' reactions. He smiled faintly at Emo Qingyun and said, Initial 6th seal. In 3 months, your cultivation has increased by an entire realm. Little guy, you are pretty good. Thank you for your help, Elder. When Emo Qingyun heard this, he smiled faintly at Li Fan and replied respectfully. Emo Qingyun was very grateful for Li Fan's help. He immediately understood Li Fan's intention. In the eyes of ordinary people, Li Fan was upholding the rules of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering by stopping Zhu Jinlan and the others from attacking. However, in the eyes of those who were observant, they could guess Li Fan's intention. He was indirectly warning the elders of the 4 unique sects not to attack Emo Qingyun easily. Don't be so polite. Li Fan smiled faintly and waved his hand in response to Emo Qingyun's gratitude. He said, Little guy, I am Li Fan, an elder of the Sky Demon Talisman sect. If you join the Sky Demon Talisman sect, the Sky Demon Talisman sect will help you settle the trouble you caused in the Myriad World Valley. When Emo Qingyun heard Li Fan's words, his expression changed slightly. He cupped his hands and said, Elder, I will remember your words. I will consider it carefully later. Emo Qingyun was very tempted by Li Fan's promise. If that was the case, he would not have to worry about the 4 unique sects taking revenge on the Mao Fu sect after he left the Immortal Road. All right. When Li Fan heard Emo Qingyun's words, he did not say anything else and nodded at Emo Qingyun. He knew that the award ceremony of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering had not ended and it was not the right time to recruit Emo Qingyun on a large scale. When Emo Qingyun and Li Fan were talking, Emo Qing walked forward with a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, Since the assessment of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering has ended, it is time for the award ceremony. When they heard Emo Qing's words, the area outside the Myriad World Valley immediately quietened down. Everyone turned to look at Emo Qing. When he saw that everyone was looking at him, Emo Qing pointed to the high platform at the side and said to the top 1,000 disciples, Those who are in the top 1,000, please head to the high platform. I will award you with your ranking later. When they heard Emo Qing's words, Emo Qingyun and the rest no longer hesitated and walked towards the high platform. When they saw the top 1,000 disciples walking towards the high platform that Emo Qing pointed to, those disciples who were not in the top 1,000 were envious. Chapter 681. At this moment, as the disciples walked towards the high platform, Emo Qing and the rest each took out a magical treasure. Once these magical treasures were taken out, they transformed into a glowing door, and stood in front of the high platform. As these 10 magical treasure doors were formed, 10 completely different and powerful auras were emitted from within. Upon seeing the formation of these 10 magical treasure doors, Emo Ching no longer hesitated as he pointed at the 10 magical treasure doors and said to the crowd, "These are the sealed doors of our 10 great sections. As long as you walk through them, you will be bestowed with your sect's destiny symbol." After introducing the functions of the sealed doors to the crowd, Emo Cheng's expression turned serious as he said to the crowd, "Now, the disciples ranked from the top 1,000 to the top 101st walk to the front." Yes. Upon hearing Emo Cheng's words, the disciples did not dare to have the slightest hesitation as they walked forward one after another and neatly lined up in rows. Emo Ching nodded his head in satisfaction when he saw that these disciples had lined up properly. Then, he continued, "Next, all of you will walk to each gate of bestowment according to the sect you have chosen to join. At that time, the gate of bestowment will help you condense your destiny symbol." As Emo Cheng's words sounded out, the disciples no longer hesitated as they walked to the various sealed doors in succession. As the disciples walked to the sealed doors, Emo Qingyun saw their spiritual strength being forcefully condensed into destiny symbols. At this moment, when the disciples were condensing their destiny symbols, Emo Qingyun's face suddenly revealed a shocked expression as he furrowed his eyebrows and secretly exclaimed, "Someone seems to have done something to the destiny symbols condensed by these disciples. It seems like a spiritual brand has been added." Upon this discovery, Emo Qingyun's expression changed drastically as shock rose in his heart. He was very clear about the function of a spiritual brand. He had left a spiritual brand in other people's souls and made many people submit to him. In other words, once these disciples had their destiny symbols condensed, their lives would no longer be under his control. Upon this discovery, Emo Qingyun's heart could not help but tremble as he secretly muttered to himself, "The 10 great 9 seal sects are indeed capable. This way, they do not have to worry that the disciples they have recruited will one day betray them." After secretly sighing in his heart, Emo Qingyun's heart sank as he quickly thought of a solution. He did not want to hand his life over to the 10 great 9 seal sects and become someone else's pawn. "Young lord, this old servant has awakened." Just as Emo Qingyun's heart, a pleasantly surprised voice was transmitted into his mind. The 9 temples had awakened. Upon hearing these words, a great Emo Qingyun's name, Emo Cheng's heart, and a radiant smile, Emo Qingyun, Emo Qingyun. Now Qingyun, Emo Qingyun, the 9 seal sects, and Emo Qingyun, Qingyun of the 9 seal sects, little guy, this old man has awakened as well. From now on, this old man can fight on your behalf. Before Emo Qingyun could recover from his surprise, another joyful voice was transmitted into his mind. Senior Heixian had awakened as well. Upon hearing these words, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately changed, and the joy in his heart grew even stronger. After a short moment of surprise, Emo Qingyun transmitted his voice to the 9 temples and Heixian. 9 temples, Senior Heixian, how has your strength improved this time? Young lord, with the help of the 5 masters, this old servant's cultivation has reached the early stage of the manifestation realm. My strength is slightly higher than that of the 9 temples, and I've recovered to the 5th level of the divine tier. I can fight against advanced divine tier cultivators. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the 9 temples and Heixian both smiled faintly and replied to Emo Qingyun. It seemed that the two of them were very satisfied with the increase in their strength. Early stage of the manifestation realm, 5th level of the divine tier. Hearing their words, Emo Qingyun's face immediately lit up with joy, and his tense heart relaxed a little. This way, even if the people present wanted to deal with him, he wouldn't be completely defenseless. This is the seal sects? Just as Emo Qingyun relaxed, Heixian and the 9 temples both exclaimed in surprise. Senior 9 temples, Senior Heixian, You know about this seal sex? Hearing the 9 temples and He Xian's words, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly asked them. Seal sex? This so-called sealed door is nothing more than a cover-up. Hearing Emo Qingyun's question, He Xian's expression froze for a moment, then he said in a heavy tone, Little guy, this seal sex is a method to enslave death warriors. You must not be branded, or you will be reduced to a killing tool for others for the rest of your life. As I thought. Hearing He Xian's words, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately turned serious, and he asked He Xian, Senior He Xian, do you have a way to dissolve this seal? If I was at the peak of my cultivation, it would naturally not be difficult to dissolve such a low-level seal, but now, at the end, He Xian fell silent. It seems that he was not strong enough to dissolve this seal. Hearing this, Emo Qingyun's expression turned even more serious, and he said to He Xian, Senior He Xian, if anything happens later, I may have to merge with you next. Emo Qingyun briefly explained his thoughts to Emo Qingyun and He Xian. Alright. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, He Xian agreed without hesitation, and decided to cooperate with Emo Qingyun. As such, the time that followed passed as these disciples were imprinted with the imprints. Several hours later, all the disciples ranked from the top 1,000 to the top 101st had been branded. Seeing this, Emo Qing and the rest formed a hand seal, and kept the sealed doors on the high platform. Next, Emo Qing and the rest took out another sealed door. The aura of these sealed doors was clearly stronger than the previous one. After taking out these sealed doors, Emo Qing's expression turned solemn, and he said to the crowd in a deep voice, These are the sealed doors for the inner court disciples. Now, the top 100 to the top 11 disciples, according to the sect you have chosen, walk to the bottom of these sealed doors. Hearing this, the top 100 to the top 11 disciples walked forward one after another, and walked to the sealed doors of their respective sections. At this moment, Emo Qingyun, Emo Qing and He Zhilan also followed the crowd and walked forward. Senior Emo, Senior Zhilan. Seeing the actions of the Emo duo, Emo Qingyun's eyebrows immediately furrowed, and his expression turned solemn. If this was the case, wouldn't Emo Qing and He Zhilan also have their soul seals left? After realizing this, Emo Qingyun's fists immediately clenched tightly, and anger rose in his heart. Little brat, don't be rash. The current you is still unable to change the situation. Sensing the change in Emo Qingyun's state of mind, He Xian's words were transmitted into his mind, and gave him a reminder. Chapter 682. As time passed, about 15 minutes later, it was finally Emo Qing and He Zhilan's turn. After a slight hesitation, Emo Qing chose to join Yuan Fu sect, while He Zhilan chose Dao Fu sect. Following which, the two of them walked to Yuan Fu sect and Dao Fu sect's gate of bestowing seals, and allowed the gate of bestowing seals to condense their destiny seals. After Emo Qingyun and He Zhilan condensed their destiny seals, Emo Qingyun could clearly feel that the two of them were somewhat unfamiliar. After realizing this, Emo Qingyun's heart immediately tightened, as though he had lost a very precious thing. About an hour later, the seals for the top 100 to the top 11 were finally completed. Since the rewards for the top 1,000 to the top 11 have been given out, it is time to give out the rewards for the top 10. Seeing that the seals for the top 100 to the top 10 had been given out, Emo Qing revealed a faint smile and looked towards Emo Qingyun and the rest. He said, The 10 of you come to the front. I will give you your rewards later. Yes. When Emo Qingyun and the rest heard this, they nodded their heads in response and walked forward one after another. When he saw Emo Qingyun and the rest walk forward, Emo Qing's figure appeared on the high platform. After walking to the high platform, Emo Qing walked towards the 10th-ranked person and handed him a Qiankuan bag. He said, There are 100 million origin spirit stones inside. It is the reward for the 10th-ranked person at the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Meeting. Take it. Thank you, Elder. After receiving the Qianquan bag from Emoching, the person immediately revealed a joyous expression and thanked Emoching with cupped fists. Yes. When he saw this, Emocheng's expression was indifferent as he nodded his head. He turned his head to look at the 9th-ranked person and handed him a Qianquan bag. Next, Emoching handed the Qianquan bags one by one to Invincible Blade and the rest. After a while, Emoching arrived in front of Qingyun. Little fellow, your performance has really surprised me. Looking at Qingyun, Emoching praised him and took out a Qianquan bag and handed it to Qingyun. He smiled and said, "The reward for the first place is an ancient world crossing stone and 1,000,000,000 origin spirit stones. Keep it well." Thank you, Elder. After receiving the Qianquan bag from Qingyun's hands, Qingyun nodded his head with an indifferent expression before cupping his hands and thanking Emoching. Seeing the actions of the 10 great sects, Qingyun no longer had a good impression of them. Of course, although Qingyun appeared cold, he was extremely excited at the moment. After so many days of hard work, he had finally obtained the ancient planet-crossing stone. Now, he could return to the Tianhan continent. After putting away the Qianquan bag, Qingyun sent it to the Heixian Hall and transmitted his voice to the 9 temples. 9th temples, is the stone in the Qianquan bag the ancient world-crossing stone you mentioned? This stone would determine whether or not Qingyun would be able to return to the Tianhan continent. Just in case, he immediately checked with the 9 temples. Replying to the young lord, "This is the ancient planet-crossing stone." Hearing Qingyun's words, the 9 temples replied to Qingyun with a solemn tone. Hearing the 9 temples reply, Qingyun's heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally calmed down. In that case, everything was ready. All that was left was to wait for the 9 temples to set up the array. While Qingyun was feeling excited, Emoching and the rest once again formed hand seals and took away the inner disciples' sealed doors. After that, Emoching formed another seal with his hands and unleashed the imprint-bestowing gate with an even stronger aura. After Emoching and the rest took out their sealed doors, a faint smile appeared on Emoching's face as he said to Qingyun and the rest, "These 10 sealed doors are the sealed doors for the direct disciples of our 10 great sections. The 10 of you can choose now." Hearing Emoching's words, Zhu Jinlan and the rest no longer hesitated and chose the sect they wanted to join. However, what surprised Qingyun was that the Invincible Blade stood still and did not seem to choose a sect to join. Seeing the Invincible Blade's actions, Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked as he thought to himself, "Could it be that the Invincible Blade has also discovered that these sealed doors are not ordinary? Little guy, the kid beside you is not simple. You have to be careful of him." At that moment, while Qingyun was still in shock, Heixian sent a message to him with a heavy tone. Hearing Heixian's message, Qingyun immediately revealed a surprised expression. He was extremely surprised by Heixian's message. He really did not expect that Heixian would give the Invincible Blade such a high evaluation. From the looks of it, the Invincible Blade was indeed not simple. When the crowd saw that the Invincible Blade and Qingyun did not move and chose the sect they wanted to join, they were immediately puzzled and confused. What were the Invincible Blade and Qingyun doing? Could it be that the two of them did not intend to join the 9 Seals sect? At that moment, the crowd could not help but have such a thought. Qingyun, Invincible Blade, why aren't the two of you choosing? Seeing the actions of Qingyun and Invincible Blade, Emoching revealed a puzzled expression as he asked Qingyun and Invincible Blade. Emoching and the rest could understand that Qingyun was in a difficult position and could not make a decision in such a short period of time. After all, they had promised Qingyun many benefits before the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. It was normal for Qingyun to find it difficult to make a decision in such a short period of time. However, at that moment the invincible blade did the same. That seemed a little abnormal. This kid is indeed not an ordinary person. Looks like he must have discovered something. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, elderly fan of the Sky Demon Talisman sect smiled faintly and said to Emo Qingyun in a deep voice, "Qingyun, if you choose to join the Sky Demon Talisman sect, you can come to my side directly. There is no need to condense the direct disciple's destiny seal. At that time, I will request the sect to bestow you with the young sect master's destiny seal." Li Fan Yu, hearing Li Fan's words, Emo Qing and the rest's expressions darkened and their eyes were filled with intense anger. However, perhaps due to some misgivings, they did not dare to say it directly. Hearing Li Fan's words, Emo Qingyun immediately made a decision in his heart. He cupped his hands and said to Li Fan, "Disciple Emo Qingyun is willing to join the Sky Demon Talisman sect. Disciple Emo Qingyun is willing to join the Sky Demon Talisman sect." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Emo Qing and the rest's expressions changed drastically, and a strong sense of foreboding rose in their hearts. Of course, other than anger, Emo Qing and the rest's eyes secretly revealed a trace of coldness. However, Emo Qing and the rest hid it very well and ordinary people could not see it. "Haha, very good. You indeed did not disappoint me." Seeing Emo Qingyun's decision, Li Fan's face was immediately filled with joy and he immediately praised Emo Qingyun. After praising Emo Qingyun, Li Fan's face was filled with disdain. He turned to look at Emo Qing and the rest and sneered, "Emo Qing, if you want to recruit a talented disciple, you must make some sacrifices. Not everyone is a fool." Li Fan Yu, hearing Li Fan's words, Emo Qing and the rest's expressions darkened and they stared angrily at Li Fan. They were so angry that they could not speak. Chapter 683. After Emo Qingyun made his decision, he moved and appeared beside Li Fan in a flash. Seeing Emo Qingyun approaching, the elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect smiled and greeted Emo Qingyun. Qingyun greets the elders. Seeing the actions of the elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect, Emo Qingyun showed a humble expression and cupped his hands. After replying to the elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect, Emo Qingyun turned his head and looked at Invincible Blade. He wanted to see what Invincible Blade would do next. At that moment, when Emo Qingyun looked at Invincible Blade, Emo Qing and the rest also turned their heads and looked at Invincible Blade. Perhaps it was because he had been humiliated by Li Fan. Emo Qing looked at Invincible Blade with an unpleasant expression. He said with a slightly unhappy tone, "Invincible Blade, everyone has made their choice and we are only waiting for you. Don't waste everyone's time." Hearing Emo Qing's words, Invincible Blade immediately frowned and the difficult expression on his face became even more intense. After pondering for a while, Invincible Blade showed an unwilling expression and looked at Emo Qingyun. He said in a deep voice, "Emo Qingyun, let our battle begin now. I believe you know that once I have made my choice, we will not have a chance to battle in the future." Invincible Blade has indeed realized that there is something wrong with the gate of bestowing seals. Hearing Invincible Blade's words, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately changed and he came to a realization in his heart. Then, Emo Qingyun looked at Invincible Blade with a faint smile and said in a deep voice, "Invincible Blade, before I battle with you, I have a request." "What request?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Invincible Blade was stunned and a surprised expression appeared on his face. "That is, if you lose the battle later, you have to follow me for 10 years, Emo Qingyun said solemnly. "If you lose, you have to follow me for 10 years. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Invincible Blade was first stunned. Then, his eyes lit up and he instantly understood what Emo Qingyun meant. Emo Qingyun's words seemed to be an unreasonable request, but in fact, he was helping Invincible Blade to avoid the gate of bestowing seals. Otherwise, the period of time that Emo Qingyun asked him to follow him would not be a mere 10 years. Compared to Invincible Blade's thoughts, the faces of the elders of the Blade Talisman sect immediately became ugly. "Mo, do you want to offend our Talisman sect?" An elder from the Blade Talisman sect had a gloomy expression on his face as he spoke unhappily to Mo Qingyun. It was as if he wanted to kill Mo Qingyun on the spot. Elder, Invincible Blade immediately reprimanded Invincible Blade when he heard Zhu Cheng's words. He gave Zhu Wuing a look and said, "Elder Wuing, this matter is very important to me. Please allow me to make the decision." Zhu Wuing immediately frowned when he saw the look in Invincible Blade's eyes. His expression became solemn as he said, "All right, you can make the decision. Regardless of the outcome, the Blade Talisman sect will always be your backing." "Thank you, Elder Wuing." Invincible Blade looked grateful when he heard Zhu Wuing's words. He quickly cupped his hands and bowed to Zhu Wuing. "Elder Wuing, what if?" Zhu Chang immediately looked nervous when he heard Zhu Wuing's words. He wanted to persuade Zhu Wuing. However, before he could say anything, Zhu Wuing raised his hand and interrupted him. He said to the elders of the Blade Talisman sect, "Elders, you don't have to say anything. Invincible Blade is not an impulsive person. I believe that he has his own plans." Hearing Zhu Wuing's words, Zhu Chang and the others fell silent and did not say anything else. "Mo Qingyun, I accept your conditions." Seeing that Zhu Wuing had agreed to his request, Invincible Blade smiled faintly. He turned to look at Mo Qingyun and said, "However, if you want me to follow you, you'll have to show me the strength to convince me. If that's the case, I'll fight you with all my strength. You don't have to worry about anything. Just give it your all." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he heard Invincible Blade's words. He had a serious look on his face. Mo Qingyun's words were telling Invincible Blade to give it his all. He did not have to worry about not being able to handle it. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he moved and flew toward the high platform where they had fought previously. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had returned to the high platform, Zhu Jinlan and the others on the high platform immediately looked gloomy. Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to Zhu Jinlan and the others on the high platform. He turned to look at Li Fan and said, "Elder Li Fan, when I fight with Invincible Blade later, please help me maintain the situation. Don't let anyone interfere with us." Now that Mo Qingyun had consecutively killed the genius disciples of the four unique sects, he could not guarantee that the four unique sects would not take the risk and attack him when he was fighting later. Therefore, it was better for him to be careful. After all, it was better to be safe than sorry. "Don't worry and fight. With me here, no one can interfere." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Li Fan nodded in response. He then glanced around and said coldly, "If anyone dares to interfere later, I don't mind going to their sect to reduce the pressure on their population." Hearing Li Fan's words, everyone's expressions twitched and a strong sense of fear flashed in their eyes. The people of the Sky Demon Talisman sect had always been ferocious. Since Li Fan had said so, he would definitely do so. Seeing that everything was explained, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He looked at Invincible Blade with a serious face and said, "Invincible Blade, don't hold back later. Otherwise, you won't be my opponent." In Mo Qingyun's opinion, since He Xian had such a high opinion of Invincible Blade, he would definitely not be as simple as he looked. "Mo Qingyun, you are indeed an extraordinary person. Your observation is actually so meticulous." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Invincible Blade was immediately shocked. He was very surprised by Mo Qingyun's words at this moment. After saying those words of surprise, Invincible Blade did not say anything more and immediately attacked Mo Qingyun. Fighting intent surged. Following Invincible Blade's shout, a golden light burst out from his body and emitted a shocking aura. As soon as this golden light appeared, it turned into a faint golden saber shadow and floated behind Invincible Blade. This is the heaven-breaking fighting intent technique. This kid actually knows the heaven-breaking fighting intent technique. Could it be that he has some connection with the heaven-breaking warrior? Seeing Invincible Blade's attack, He Xian and the Nine Temples were both agitated and shocked. Heaven-breaking warrior? Hearing the words of the Nine Temples and He Xian, Mo Qingyun's expression was immediately shocked. He did not expect Invincible Blade to have such a background. Kid, you have to be careful of Invincible Blade's fighting intent technique. Once the golden saber shadow behind him solidifies, he will be able to use the fighting intent technique. At this moment, He Xian reminded Mo Qingyun in a solemn tone. Mo Qingyun's face was filled with shock. Alright. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun nodded and looked at Invincible Blade with a faint smile. He said in a low voice, "In that case, let me have a taste of your heaven-breaking fighting intent technique." You actually know about the heaven-breaking fighting intent technique? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Invincible Blade's expression immediately changed. His face was filled with intense shock. He smiled faintly and said, "It seems like you are indeed very ordinary." Chapter 684. Scarlet Heavenly Dragon Appear. Seeing that Invincible Blade took out his natal talisman, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately summoned the Scarlet Heavenly Dragon. Once the Scarlet Heavenly Dragon was summoned, it emitted a shocking dragon aura and floated above Mo Qingyun. Blood Chi Berserk. Soul Change. Once the Scarlet Heavenly Dragon was summoned, Mo Qingyun used his martial soul ability to increase his cultivation and entered the half-soul change state. After entering the half-soul change state, Mo Qingyun's body was immediately covered with a layer of red dragon scales and transformed into a dragon blood war god. At the same time, the aura on Mo Qingyun's body rose rapidly and reached the peak of the Dan Palace realm. At this moment, the 9 Dan palaces in Mo Qingyun's Dantian were activated by him without any reservation and exploded with surging origin energy. Mo Qingyun had a feeling in his heart that if they were to compare the amount of origin energy, he would not be weaker than a peak Heaven Dipper realm expert. Seeing the performance of Mo Qingyun and Invincible Blade, the surrounding people were shocked. They were shocked by the performance of Mo Qingyun and Invincible Blade. Mo Qingyun and Invincible Blade are so strong. Just their aura alone is enough to make my heart tremble. I am at the intermediate 7th seal realm. They are the real geniuses. With their talent and strength, the first and second of the myriad talisman immortal gathering are worthy of their name. I wonder who will be stronger in the battle later between Mo Qingyun and Invincible Blade. At this moment, everyone was looking forward to it and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. While everyone was shocked, Invincible Blade's natal talisman turned into a ray of light and attacked Mo Qingyun at an extremely fast speed. Seeing Invincible Blade's natal talisman coming, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate. With a flick of his wrist, he held the Scorching Halberd in his hand. Scorching Sky Halberd. After taking out the Scorching Halberd, Mo Qingyun took a step forward and turned into an afterimage, slashing at Invincible Blade's natal talisman. Clang! Then, a crisp sound was heard from the sky. Subsequently, the crowd saw that Mo Qingyun's Scorching Halberd had just blocked the Invincible Blade's natal talisman, and they were caught in a stalemate. At the same time, a terrifying storm of strength came from the life talismans of the Scorching Flame Halberd and the Invincible Blade. Along with the explosion of the storm, the zombies of the Scorching Flame Halberd and the Invincible Blade natal talisman were also destroyed. Following which, Mo Qingyun's body continuously retreated, avoiding the engulfing force storm. When Mo Qingyun was dodging the force storm, the life talisman of the Invincible Blade was also blasted away and returned to the side of the Invincible Blade. After taking a few steps back and stabilizing himself, Mo Qingyun's body once again turned into a stream of light and approached the Invincible Blade at an extremely fast speed. After many battles with talisman masters, Mo Qingyun knew their weakness, which was that they were not good at close combat. Good timing. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was approaching him, the invincible blade's fighting spirit immediately became stronger. Subsequently, the golden saber shadow behind the invincible blade also became more solid, and its aura became more shocking. Clang! At this moment, after the invincible blade cheered, he did not hesitate to pull out the long saber on his back. Seeing that the invincible blade had pulled out the long saber, the expressions of the surrounding people who were familiar with the invincible blade immediately changed. The invincible blade has pulled out the saber? Mo Qingyun is so strong. He actually forced the invincible blade to pull out the saber so quickly. It is said that if the invincible blade fights with the saber, his combat power will increase by 30%. I wonder if Mo Qingyun can handle it. I'm really looking forward to it. The invincible blade and Mo Qingyun are so strong, they can really be said to be the peerless duo of this year's Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. Seeing that the invincible blade had pulled out the saber on his back, the surrounding people's expressions changed again, revealing a strong sense of anticipation. This Mo Qingyun is indeed a dragon among men. He actually forced the invincible blade to pull out the saber so quickly. Seeing the invincible blade's action, Zhu Wuying's expression immediately froze, and he could not help but exclaim, "Good, very good." Seeing that Mo Qingyun and the invincible blade were exchanging blows, Li Fan immediately revealed a look of surprise and said excitedly, "This invincible blade's talent is also very good. If he can join our Sky Demon Talisman sect, then our Sky Demon Talisman sect will have a grand slam this time." Clang! As the invincible blade pulled out the long saber on his back, the aura on his body immediately became sharper, as if it had become one with the saber in his hand. Saber essence. Sensing the change in the aura on the invincible blade, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed, revealing a look of surprise. He said, "I didn't expect the invincible blade to have comprehended some saber essence. It's a pity that he did not comprehend the saber force, otherwise, his strength would definitely increase by more than a few times." Seeing that, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated, revealing a faint smile and said, "In this case, I won't hold back anymore. Saber force." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at the invincible blade. He then released the saber force, increasing the aura on his body. Following that, Mo Qingyun gave off a feeling of being integrated with the heavens and earth, as if he was now a saber that could break through the heavens. This is saber force. Sensing the aura on Mo Qingyun's body, the invincible blade's expression immediately changed, revealing a look of shock. He did not expect that Mo Qingyun had actually comprehended saber force, and it was not the kind of beginner's insight. However, after a short moment of shock, the invincible blade's gaze became confused, as if he had comprehended something, or as if he had fallen into a state of confusion. The invincible blade can actually comprehend something under my saber force. Seeing the invincible blade's performance, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly stunned, and he did not continue to attack the invincible blade. Mo Qingyun knew very well that the invincible blade was at the critical moment of breaking through the bottleneck, and he could not be disturbed in the slightest. After pondering for a while, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly, and he said in a deep voice, "Previously, you helped me a few times, so this time, I'll help you too. However, whether you can break through or not depends on yourself." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he increased the strength of the saber force, continuing to suppress the invincible blade's body, helping the invincible blade to comprehend the power of the saber force. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, everyone was immediately shocked, and they could not believe what they were seeing. Mo Qingyun was actually helping the invincible blade to comprehend the saber force, and not taking advantage of the situation to attack the invincible blade. It had to be said that Mo Qingyun's actions at the moment made people unable to help but be convinced by him. Mo Qingyun, He's helping the invincible blade to comprehend the saber force? Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions at the moment, Zhu Wuying and the rest were shocked, and they could not believe that it was true. At this moment, they vaguely understood why the invincible blade had agreed to Emo Qingyun's request. Looking at Emo Qingyun's actions at the moment, it seemed that the invincible blade's decision to follow Emo Qingyun was not a wrong choice. Subsequently, in the hearts of Zhu Wuying and the rest, their impression of Emo Qingyun immediately changed. With regards to Emo Qingyun's actions at the moment, they were convinced, and they could not help but admit that Emo Qingyun was open and aboveboard. After pondering for a short while, Zhu Wuying's face was filled with admiration, and he could not help but exclaim, "Emo Qingyun, you're the only person that I, Zhu Wuying, have been convinced by for hundreds of years." The invincible blade did not choose the wrong person. At this moment, when everyone was shocked, the aura on the invincible blade's body suddenly rose, and it instantly became sharper. Chapter 685. Thank you. With the help of Emo Qingyun, Invincible Blade had successfully comprehended the blade force. He was delighted and quickly thanked Emo Qingyun. "You're welcome." Emo Qingyun smiled and waved his hand at Invincible Blade's gratitude. He said, "Since you've already comprehended the blade force, let's continue the battle." "Alright." Invincible Blade nodded when he heard this. He held the long saber in his hand and walked quickly toward Emo Qingyun. At this moment, the aura that Invincible Blade exuded was obviously stronger and sharper than before. It seemed that the comprehension of the blade force had made him even more powerful. In addition, Invincible Blade's body was filled with a bloody mist that revealed a shocking murderous intent. This was the power of his massacre bloodline. As the power of the massacre bloodline was activated by Invincible Blade, his eyes immediately turned red and revealed a demonic intent. Massacre bloodline. Looking at Invincible Blade's current performance, Emo Qingyun immediately frowned and his expression became more serious. Then, Emo Qingyun no longer held back and activated the Heavenly Soul Demon bloodline in his body. As Emo Qingyun activated the bloodline of the Heavenly Soul Demon clan, his eyes immediately shone brightly. A beautiful purple light flashed through them. Not only that, but there were also 9 charming stars flashing between Emo Qingyun's eyebrows. At this moment, Emo Qingyun and Invincible Blade gave off a demonic feeling that made people unconsciously revere them. Looking at the performance of Emo Qingyun and Invincible Blade, the surrounding people were shocked and revealed a shocked expression. Emo Qingyun and Invincible Blade have both activated the power of the bloodline. Both of them have terrifying talent. Did you guys notice that after Emo Qingyun activated the power of the bloodline, the blood chi outside Invincible Blade's body seemed to have become thinner? If that's the case, wouldn't the Invincible Blade's bloodline be suppressed by Emo Qingyun's bloodline? In other words, Emo Qingyun's bloodline is stronger? That should be the case. After all, Emo Qingyun's talent value has reached 1,000, which is several times higher than Invincible Blade's. Sensing the strength of Emo Qingyun's bloodline, everyone was shocked and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. As Emo Qingyun activated the bloodline of the Heavenly Soul Demon clan, Invincible Blade was shocked and said, "What a powerful bloodline. Could it be that Emo Qingyun's bloodline is not a fake Heavenly Soul Demon clan bloodline?" At this moment, the Invincible Blade was really shocked by this discovery. His face was full of shock, and he said to himself, "In this case, no matter what the result of this battle is, I can have no regrets." After the Invincible Blade sighed in his heart, he no longer hesitated and slashed at Emo Qingyun with his long saber. What a profound artistic conception! Sensing the power of the Invincible Blade's slash, Emo Qingyun was shocked and a sense of astonishment rose in his heart. At this moment, the Invincible Blade's slash did not reveal the slightest fluctuation of power. It was just a very ordinary and casual slash. However, even so, this slash of the invincible blade brought a strong sense of threat to Emo Qingyun. This was because this slash of the invincible blade contained a very profound artistic conception, which gave Emo Qingyun a feeling that he could not resist. After a short moment of shock, Emo Qingyun did not dare to hesitate. He immediately shook the scorching halberd in his hand and stabbed at the invincible blade's long saber. Seeing that the scorching halberd was stabbing at his long saber, the invincible blade immediately shook his wrist and turned the slash into a sweep, sweeping directly at Emo Qingyun's chest. Seeing that the invincible blade's long saber was sweeping towards his chest, Emo Qingyun immediately held the scorching halberd in the middle and rotated it in front of him, forming a shocking halberd shadow fire wheel. Clang! At the same time, the long saber in the invincible blade's hand was forcefully blocked by Emo Qingyun's long halberd. Although the attack failed, the invincible blade did not stop at all. He slashed at Emo Qingyun again. This time, the invincible blade's attack was a bit sharper than before. This slash contained a variety of powers. At this moment, after the invincible blade slashed, the long saber in his hand immediately erupted with 2 rays of saber light, 1 red and 1 gold. 1 slash, 2 rays of saber light? With 1 slash, 2 rays of saber light were slashed out at the same time. Emo Qingyun had never seen such a technique before. What made Emo Qingyun even more shocked was that the 2 rays of saber light slashed out by the invincible blade were not the shadow of the saber light that confused the mind of others. Little guy, this is the heaven-breaking fighting will double blade of fighting will. After the slash, it will form 2 rays of saber light, 1 virtual and 1 real. However, both of them have real lethality. Seeing the invincible blade's attack, He Xian reminded Emo Qingyun in a heavy tone in his mind. In addition, you have to be extra careful of the golden saber light. If you are hit by it, it will devour your fighting will, causing you to lose your fighting will and admit defeat in the end. Devouring fighting will. Hearing He Xian's explanation, Emo Qingyun was immediately shocked. He was shocked by the power of the heaven-breaking fighting will. After a short moment of silence, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate anymore. He immediately waved the scorching halberd to block the 2 rays of saber light. Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger. When Emo Qingyun blocked the 2 rays of saber light, he did not just take the hit. He raised his left hand and pointed at the invincible blade. Under Emo Qingyun's finger, the wind and clouds immediately gathered in midair, forming a huge black vortex. From within, a huge black finger burst out. As soon as the huge black finger appeared, it exploded with a terrifying aura, crushing the invincible blade below. Bang, bang, bang! Under the pressure of Shaoza's heavenly spirit finger, there were immediately roaring sounds below. Some of the plants did not dare to bear the pressure and directly exploded. This is the legacy martial arts. Looking at the huge black finger with an astonishing aura, the invincible blade's expression was immediately shocked. A storm was set off in his heart. Emo Qingyun actually knew about the legacy martial arts. This was really beyond his expectations. Blow of fighting will. Subsequently, the invincible blade did not dare to hesitate. He immediately waved the long saber in his hand and slashed at the huge black finger. As the invincible blade slashed down, the golden saber shadow on his back instantly grew bigger, turning into a ray of saber light that was dozens of meters long. Bang! As soon as the golden saber light slashed down, it was like a volcanic eruption, forming a storm of force that rushed to the sky. Subsequently, the storm of force of the golden saber shadow collided with the huge black finger in the sky, forming an even more terrifying storm of force. Bang, bang, bang! Under the impact of the storm of force, the ground suddenly shook and the mountains shook, causing sand and stones to burst open. At this moment, when the storm was raging, Emo Qingyun pointed at the invincible blade again. Under Emo Qingyun's finger, an obscure fluctuation of aura immediately burst out from his ring finger. Oh no! Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, the invincible blade's expression was immediately shocked, and a strong sense of uneasiness rose in his heart. However, before he could make a move to block the attack, he felt a terrifying force smashing into his body. Bang! Subsequently, everyone saw the invincible blade's body being blasted away by a terrifying force. Poof! After being hit by the inaction heaven-concealing finger, the invincible blade's face immediately turned pale. He spat out blood from his mouth, and his body half knelt in front of Mo Qingyun. The invincible blade was defeated. After seeing this scene, everyone's expression was shocked, and their faces were filled with astonishment. Even a powerful existence like the invincible blade was still defeated by Mo Qingyun in the battle with Mo Qingyun. Chapter 686. The Bloodline of the Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe and the Powerful Legacy Martial Skill. I, Invincible Blade, am not defeated in vain. After calming himself down, Invincible Blade smiled faintly. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said, I will keep my promise and follow you for 10 years from today onwards. From the battle just now, Mo Qingyun had defeated Invincible Blade in terms of talent, strength, and breadth of mind. Invincible Blade knew clearly that if it was an ordinary person, he would have taken the opportunity to sneak an attack on him when he was comprehending the saber force. On the other hand, what about Mo Qingyun? Not only did Mo Qingyun not attack him, on the contrary, Mo Qingyun even released his own saber force to help him comprehend the saber force concept. Invincible Blade admitted that he could not have such breadth of mind. Haha, good, very good. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had defeated Invincible Blade, Li Fan was pleasantly surprised. He could not help but praise Mo Qingyun. This little guy has brought me so many surprises. In this way, he deserves to be the champion of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. If not for Mo Qingyun's appearance, Invincible Blade would definitely be the champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Now, both of them have joined our Sky Demon Talisman sect. This is really the rise of our Sky Demon Talisman sect. As long as both of them are given enough time, they will definitely lead our Sky Demon Talisman sect to the peak in the future. At this moment, all the elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect were delighted. They could not help but exclaim in anticipation. With Mo Qingyun's talent and breadth of mind, he is qualified for Invincible Blade to follow him. Seeing the outcome, Zhu Wuying could not help but sigh. His eyes were filled with gratification. It was as if he was feeling sorry for Invincible Blade for being able to find such a wise master. Qingyun 1. Does this mean that Invincible Blade will really recognize Qingyun as his master? Fang Huide and the rest were excited at the thought of Invincible Blade recognizing Mo Qingyun as his master. Their hearts could not help but beat faster. Invincible Saber was originally the champion of this year's 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering, the #1 genius of the 5 Absolutes sect. But now, he had acknowledged Mo Qingyun as his master. This news was too shocking for them. It was something they had never thought of before. Damned brat, he actually defeated the Invincible Blade. If that's the case, Zhu Jinlan and the others might not be his match. If that's the case, I'm afraid it'll be troublesome for us to deal with this kid. No, I can't let this kid continue to grow. Otherwise, he'll be a huge disaster in the future. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had defeated the Invincible Blade, Qiu Wan and the rest had a gloomy expression. They looked at Mo Qingyun with cold eyes. At this moment, while everyone was shocked by this result, Mo Qingyun looked at Li Fan with a faint smile. Elder Li Fan, the Invincible Blade is now my right-hand man. I wonder if he can join the Sky Demon Talisman sect? Mo Qingyun asked Li Fan with a faint smile. With the Invincible Blade's talent, he's willing to join the Sky Demon Talisman sect. We'll naturally welcome him. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Li Fan immediately smiled bitterly and replied to Emo Qingyun. With the Invincible Blade's talent, if he wanted to join a sect, which sect would reject him? He was a true supreme talent. This kind of good thing was something that could not be touched, so how could Li Fan open his mouth to refuse? Thank you, Elder Li Fan. Hearing Li Fan's words, Emo Qingyun cupped his hands in gratitude and said, now that the Invincible Blade has joined the Sky Demon Talisman sect as my servant, he shouldn't need to condense a natal rune, right? Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Li Fan's expression was slightly stunned and he looked a little embarrassed. However, after a short moment of silence, Li Fan smiled and said to Emo Qingyun, of course. Since the Invincible Blade is your servant, you can decide everything about him. Thank you, Elder Li Fan. Hearing Li Fan's words, Emo Qingyun looked grateful again and said to Li Fan solemnly, Qingyun will remember Elder Li Fan's kindness today. Good. Seeing Emo Qingyun's expression, Li Fan nodded with relief and was very satisfied with Emo Qingyun's performance. It could be seen that Emo Qingyun was not the kind of person who would forget righteousness at the sight of profit and burn the bridge after crossing the river. Instead, he was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Emo Qingyun, thank you. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions at this moment, the Invincible Blade also looked solemn and thanked Emo Qingyun. He naturally understood Emo Qingyun's intention in doing so. At this moment, he admired Emo Qingyun even more in his heart and faintly felt lucky for himself. To have such a wise master in life, his life was not in vain. At this moment, while Emo Qingyun and the rest were talking, the elders of the 4 unique sects and the tyrannical talisman sect all looked pleadingly at Emo Qing and the rest. Esteemed lords of the upper factions, we have a matter that we hope you can uphold justice for us. Esteemed lords of the upper factions, Emo Qingyun is cruel and ruthless. He killed the talented juniors of our sect. Please uphold justice for us. That's right, Emo Qingyun is cruel and bloodthirsty. If he is allowed to grow, he will definitely be a disaster for our immortal path in the future. In an instant, the elders of the 4 unique sects and the tyrannical talisman sect all looked pleading. Shut up. When he heard the actions of the elders of the 4 unique sects and the tyrannical talisman sect, Li Fan's face immediately darkened as he chided them. He continued, the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is a life and death experience. The juniors of your sect died at the hands of Qingyun in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. This can only be blamed on their lack of skills. How can you blame Qingyun? Li Fan's face was filled with displeasure as he continued, if that's the case, the disciples of the 6 Seal and 7 Seal sects who died at the hands of your sect's disciples, shouldn't they also complain about it? Elder Li Fan, your words are too serious. Emo Qingyun has killed too many people in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Indeed, he needs to give everyone an explanation. At this moment, when Li Fan's words fell, Emo Cheng's expression changed slightly as he spoke in an unconcerned manner. He continued, furthermore, how can the talented juniors of the 4 unique sects be compared to some ordinary disciples? That's right. Although killing is not prohibited in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, it is indeed not good to have too much killing intent. After hearing Emo Cheng's words, a cold smile appeared on Jin Wan's face as she added. Subsequently, the elders of the other 9 Seal sects also expressed their displeasure towards Emo Qingyun. When they saw the actions of Emo Qing and the rest, the people from the other sects could not help but sigh in their hearts. These elders of the 9 Seal sects were truly ruthless. The moment they saw that Emo Qingyun did not join their sects, they wanted to kill Emo Qingyun. Humph. If you want to explain, you can, but you have to ask my fist first. When he heard the words of Emo Qing and the rest, Li Fan's face was filled with anger as he replied to them. Looking at Li Fan's stance, it seemed like he was about to attack them if they did not agree. Elder Li Fan, there is no need to be angry. Let's see what they have up their sleeves. Chapter 687. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jin Kai and the rest of the people immediately smiled sinisterly, as if they had succeeded in their evil scheme. Jin Kai and the rest of the people exchanged glances and looked at Mo Qingyun. Jin Kai smiled sinisterly and said, Mo Qingyun, we will not force you. Next, the 5 sects will each send a disciple to fight with you. As long as you can defeat them, we will forget about you killing the disciples of the 5 sections. Okay, we promise you. Mo Qingyun didn't even think about Jin Kai's request. He agreed without hesitation. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, with the personalities of Jin Kai and the rest of the people, even if he refused, they would continue to find trouble with him. In that case, he might as well agree directly and defeat the disciples of the 5 sects once and for all. Great. In that case, let's not waste any more time. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had agreed to his suggestion, Jin Kai and the rest of the people smiled sinisterly again. They turned to Lu Chao and the rest of the people and said, Lu Chao, Zhu Jinlan, Yuan Ba, Chou Jianfeng, Zhou Jin, the 5 of you go and fight with Mo Qingyun. Yes, Elder Jin Kai. Hearing Jin Kai and the rest of the people, Zhu Jinlan and the rest of the people immediately nodded and agreed. They looked at Mo Qingyun with sinister smiles. Then, the people saw that Zhu Jinlan and the rest of the people flew out at the same time and surrounded Mo Qingyun. The 5 of them are going to fight with Mo Qingyun together? Seeing that, the people were stunned. They were surprised by the situation in front of them. Wait. Seeing that, Li Fan's face darkened and he said angrily, Didn't you say that the 5 sects would each send a disciple to fight with Qingyun? Why are the 5 of you fighting with Qingyun at the same time? Jin Kai seemed to have expected that Li Fan would ask such a question. After hearing that, he smiled sinisterly and replied to Li Fan, Elder Li Fan, is there anything wrong? Isn't it just our 5 sects sending out 1 disciple each? Hearing Jin Kai's sophistry, Li Fan's expression immediately became angry. He understood the meaning of Jin Kai's words and said unhappily, The 5 of them against Qingyun alone, isn't that a bit too much? Elder Li Fan, you're wrong. Hearing Li Fan's words, Chou Wan sneered and quibbled. Just now, everyone saw that Mo Qingyun defeated Invincible Blade. Jian Feng's strength is about the same as Invincible Blade's. In this case, how can we let Jian Feng and the rest fight with Mo Qingyun alone? Elder Li Fan, as an elder of the 9 Seals sect, the Sky Demon Talisman sect, you can't be thinking of going back on your word, right? Yuan De revealed a sinister smile as he mocked Li Fan. At this moment, after Yuan Da's words sounded, Mo Qing by the side also revealed a cold smile. He smiled towards Li Fan and said, Elder Li Fan, I feel that Elder Jin Kai's words are correct. You have misunderstood it. You cannot blame them. Elder Li Fan, if you are so biased, we can only stand on the side of the 4 unique sects. At this moment, Jin Wan glanced at Li Fan and the rest with a sinister smile and expressed his stance. Thank you, elders, for upholding justice. When they saw the attitude of Mo Qing and the rest, Jin Kai and the rest immediately revealed a joyful expression and hurriedly cupped their hands and thanked them. You all, when he saw the performance of Mo Qing and the rest, Li Fan was instantly furious. He raised his hand and pointed at Mo Qing and the rest, unable to speak. When Mo Qing and the rest saw that they were unable to recruit Mo Qingyun, they wanted to kill Mo Qingyun. They were really sinister. Elder Li Fan, there's no need to say anything more. I will fight with them. When he saw Li Fan's action, Mo Qingyun was touched. He smiled faintly and indicated to Li Fan that there was no need to worry. After comforting Li Fan, Mo Qingyun looked at Zhu Jinlan and the rest and smiled faintly. This is good too. I can deal with all of you in one go and save myself the trouble of coming one by one. Qingyun, you really want to fight with them? When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, Li Fan immediately revealed a nervous expression and hurriedly confirmed with Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun actually wanted to fight 1 against 5. This was really too shocking and unexpected. One should know that Zhu Jinlan and the other 4 were all geniuses of their respective sections. Each of them had the strength to fight someone above their level. They were definitely not comparable to an ordinary quasi-7 seal expert. Yes. In response to Li Fan's question, Mo Qingyun nodded with a solemn expression. He then looked at Jin Kai and the rest and said, "Elders of the 4 unique sects, I will fight with Zhu Jinlan and the rest later. Do you dare to sign a life and death contract with me?" Wow. When Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, there was an uproar in the surroundings. Everyone revealed a look of intense shock. Mo Qingyun is so domineering. He actually wants to sign a life and death contract to fight 1 against 5. I am impressed by his courage. I wonder if Zhu Jinlan and the rest dare to accept it. In my opinion, they should accept it without hesitation. If Zhu Jinlan and the others do not dare to accept a battle between 5 people, it would truly be a disgrace to their family. At this moment, everyone revealed a look of curiosity. They wanted to see Zhu Jinlan and the rest's decision. Sign a life and death contract? When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, Li Fan's expression immediately froze. He shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "This kid seems to be planning to be ruthless." Li Fan knew clearly that Mo Qingyun's actions at this moment were undoubtedly indicating that he wanted to kill. Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, Lu Chao and the rest avoided his gaze and revealed a look of hesitation. From their point of view, if they were to sign a life and death contract with Mo Qingyun, when Mo Qingyun was ruthless in the fight later, he might drag one of them down with him. This wasn't something that they wanted to see. In an instant, Lu Chao and the rest became silent as they hesitated. "Why? You don't dare?" When he saw the actions of Lu Chao and the rest, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of mockery. His gaze revealed a strong sense of disdain as he said, "The supreme talents of the 4 unique sects, the genius of the crazy talisman sect. You are just SOSO." At that moment, anyone who understood what was going on would be able to tell that Mo Qingyun's words contained a strong sense of mockery and disdain. "Mo Qingyun, since you are courting death, I will fulfill your wish." When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, Yuan Ba, who was the most hot-tempered among the few of them, immediately revealed an angry expression. "Mo Qingyun, next, I will make you regret your actions." Following Yuan Ba's words, the faces of Zhu Jinlan and the others turned cold as they spoke to Mo Qingyun in a sinister manner. "Elder Mo Qing, please form a life and death contract." With regards to the reaction of Zhu Jinlan and the rest, Mo Qingyun ignored them and turned to look at Mo Qing. At that moment, Mo Qingyun's action seemed to be a request to Mo Qing, but in actual fact, he was slapping Mo Qing and the rest in the face. "Didn't you ask me to fight with Zhu Jinlan and the rest? Now, not only do I want to fight with them, but I also want to have a life and death battle with them." Humph! When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Qing snorted coldly and took out a piece of beast skin to form a life and death battle. In a short while, a life and death battle contract was formed by Mo Qing, and there were many agreements recorded on it. Each of you will leave a soul brand on the life and death battle contract will come into effect. After forming the life and death battle contract, Mo Qing revealed a gloomy look as he spoke coldly. Chapter 688. Mo Qingyun, prepare to die. After the life and death challenge was signed, Yuan Ba spoke to Mo Qingyun coldly with a ferocious look on his face. Limitless Tyrant Body Charm. As soon as Yuan Ba finished speaking, he no longer hesitated and took out his natal charm. As soon as the Limitless Tyrant Body Charm was taken out by Yuan Ba, it exuded an overbearing aura and turned into a golden light that covered Yuan Ba's body. As soon as the Limitless Tyrant Body Charm was taken out, Yuan Ba dashed toward Mo Qingyun like a raging bull. Frenzy Charm. As soon as Yuan Ba took out his natal charm, the genius of the wild charm sect, Zhou Jin, also took out his natal charm and instantly transformed into a huge ape. As he transformed into an ape, Zhou Jin's body immediately exuded a wild aura, as though he was an ancient ape from the savage era. Then, Zhou Jin followed closely behind Yuan Ba and approached Mo Qingyun quickly. He wanted to join forces with Yuan Ba to deal with Mo Qingyun. As Yuan Ba and Zhou Jin took action, Zhu Jinlan and the other two didn't hesitate and took out their natal charm. Myriad Transformation Sword Charm. As soon as Zhu Jinlan's natal charm was taken out, it turned into thousands of sword shadows and formed a long sword shadow dragon that slashed toward Mo Qingyun. Phantom Incarnation Charm. As soon as Chou Jianfeng took out his natal charm, it turned into 6 shadow charm doppelgangers. They slowly concealed themselves and prepared to launch a sneak attack and assassination on Mo Qingyun. Void Breaker Charm. Seeing that everyone was taking action, Lu Chao smirked coldly and took out his life charm as well. As soon as Lu Chao's natal charm was taken out, it immediately split into 5 and was applied to the 5 of them. With the support of the 5 charms, the aura of Lu Chao and the other 4 immediately soared and broke through the threshold of the 7 seals. Sensing the change in the aura of Lu Chao and the other 4, the surrounding people were shocked and worried about Mo Qingyun. Lu Chao and the other 4 are so strong. I didn't expect the 5 of them to cooperate so seamlessly. Yeah, Yuan Ba and Zhou Jin will be in charge of restraining Mo Qingyun, while Zhu Jinlan and Chou Jianfeng will launch a sneak attack. Lu Chao will boost the fighting power of the few of them. This is a perfect combination. With the battle prowess they've displayed, I'm afraid that even a pinnacle 7-seal powerhouse would have to avoid them. From the looks of it, Mo Qingyun is going to be in trouble. I wonder if he can make it through. Looking at the strong fighting power of Lu Chao and the other 4, everyone looked solemn. They clenched their fists and broke out in cold sweat for Mo Qingyun. I didn't expect that with the cooperation of Yuan Ba and the other 4, they would be able to display such battle strength. Seeing the reaction of Yuan Ba and the other 4, Yuan De revealed a proud smile, as if Mo Qingyun was already a fish on the chopping board. It is indeed unexpected. With the battle prowess they have displayed, even I would have to put in a lot of effort to deal with them. Hearing Yuan Da's words, Jin Kai's expression turned solemn, and he couldn't help but sigh. Mo Qingyun is courting his own death by signing the life and death contract. He can't blame anyone else. The silver-haired elder from Wild Talisman sect sneered proudly and said gratefully to Jin Kai and the rest, "Fellow elders, thank you so much for helping Zhou Qin get his revenge. Haha, Elder Zhou Jing, you're too kind. Let's work together." Hearing what the silver-haired elder from Wild Talisman sect said, Yuan De and the rest laughed, as if Mo Qingyun had already been killed. At that moment, while Jin Kai and the rest were proud of themselves, Li Fan's expression was gloomy, and he looked extremely nervous. Looking at Li Fan's expression, it seemed that if Mo Qingyun was in danger, he would step in to save Mo Qingyun. Li Fan, it's not that easy to intervene. Seeing Li Fan's expression, Mo Qing and the rest sneered, as they were wary of Li Fan intervening in the battle between Mo Qingyun and the rest. Buzz buzz buzz, at that moment, while everyone was deep in their own thoughts, the sound of a zither suddenly rang out. After the sound of the zither rang out, everyone saw a jade amulet pipa shadow appear above Mo Qingyun's body. At that moment, the jade amulet pipa shadow was emitting waves of magical sound waves, which rushed towards Yuan Ba and the rest's minds. Under the impact of the jade amulet pipa shadow, Yuan Ba and the rest immediately revealed painful expressions, and their attacks on Mo Qingyun slowed down. This is the Primordial Pipa Talisman. I didn't expect this kid to have such a treasure on him. Seeing the jade amulet pipa shadow above Mo Qingyun's body, Mo Qing was shocked, and his eyes revealed greed and killing intent. It seemed that Emo Qingyun's actions had intensified their killing intent towards Emo Qingyun. Primordial Pipa Talisman. Like Emo Qing and the rest, Li Fan was shocked when he saw the Primordial Pipa Talisman. This kid actually has the Primordial Demonic Sound Pipa Talisman on him. Could it be that he is related to the Weapon Symbol sect? If that's the case, things are getting more and more interesting. After saying those words, Li Fan revealed a playful smile. He looked towards Emo Qing and the rest and said with a faint smile, "However, if that's the case, those guys will probably want to kill Qingyun even more. Looks like we have to contact the sect leader." Li Fan clearly knew that once Emo Qing and the rest shed all pretense of cordiality and attacked Emo Qingyun, he alone would not be able to stop them. Subsequently, Li Fan took out a black talisman and quietly crushed it, secretly sending a message to the sect leader of the Sky Demon Symbol sect. Primordial Demon Revealing Mirror Talisman. While everyone was shocked by Emo Qingyun's actions, another light shadow appeared above Emo Qingyun's body. It was a talisman light shadow in the shape of a mirror. When this mirror talisman light shadow appeared, it released a dazzling light that shone directly on Chou Jianfeng's body. Soon after, Chou Jianfeng's 6 shadow talisman clones revealed themselves one after another. They were unable to continue hiding. Chou Jianfeng's shadow talisman clones had been destroyed. When they saw this scene, everyone's expression changed drastically, revealing a look of shock. The shadow talisman sect's strongest technique, the Phantom Incarnation Talisman, had actually been destroyed by Emo Qingyun. This was simply too unbelievable. If that was the case, how could Chou Jianfeng fight against Emo Qingyun? Not only that, Emo Qingyun had also mastered the method to destroy the Phantom Incarnation Talisman. This indirectly meant that he was the Shadow Talisman sect's nemesis. This kid actually has the Primordial Demon Revealing Mirror Talisman. Looking at the Mirror Talisman shadow above Emo Qingyun, Chou Wan's expression darkened. He turned his head to look at the people of the Sword Talisman sect and said coldly, "Elder Zhu Ru, does Emo Qingyun have so many primordial talismans? Does he have any connection with the Weapon Talisman sect?" Impossible. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Weapon Talisman sect was destroyed by the 9 sections. Hearing Chou Wan's words, Zhu Ru immediately shook his head and said in a deep voice, "The remaining branches of the Weapon Talisman sect are all affiliated with the 9 sections. It's impossible for there to be any survivors of the Weapon Talisman sect." Then how did Emo Qingyun get his primordial talisman? Hearing Zhu Ru's words, Yuanda and the others looked grave and became even more puzzled. This kid must have gotten it by chance. Chapter 689. Could this brat really be related to the Weapon Symbol sect? When he saw Emo Qingyun take out another immemorial artifact talisman, Li Fan's expression became even more solemn as he muttered to himself anxiously, "I hope that the sect leader can make it here in time before they take action." Another immemorial artifact talisman. When they saw the immemorial demon revealing mirror talisman above Emo Qingyun's body, the expressions of Emo Qing and the rest immediately tensed up as the greed in their eyes became even more intense. Umitba. Looks like this brat is definitely a remnant of the Weapon Symbol sect. He cannot be allowed to continue harming others. The elder from the Buddha Talisman sect swept a glance at Emo Qingyun, who was on the tall platform, before he gave a fake smile. He looked towards Emo Qing and the rest beside him and said, "Elder Emo Qing, just to be safe, should we uphold justice and immediately get rid of this evil creature from the Weapon Talisman sect?" When they heard the elder from the Buddha Symbol sect, the expressions of Emo Qing and the rest changed as their eyes revealed their desire. "No. Now that there are so many sects here, if we act rashly, I'm afraid that we will leave a topic for others to gossip about and it will be detrimental to the reputation of our 9 great sections." After weighing the pros and cons in his heart, Emo-Ching forcefully suppressed the greed in his heart and instructed the few people beside him. Elder Emo-Ching is right. We, the 9 great sects, are all righteous sections. Unlike the Sky Devil Talisman sect, we can't openly kill and plunder. Hearing Emo-Ching's words, Jean Wan, who was by the side, nodded her head in agreement. Following which, her expression turned gloomy as she said, however, after Emo-Chingyun's battle is over and all the sects present have left, we can then make a move on Emo-Chingyun and snatch it. Furthermore, if Emo-Chingyun dies in the hands of Yuan Ba and the rest, we can then threaten Zhu Jinlan and the rest, and make them hand over the immemorial artifact talisman on Emo-Chingyun's body. When Jin Wan's words fell, another elder revealed a sinister smile as he opened his mouth and added. When the elder's words fell, Emo-Ching and the rest immediately revealed a cold smile as they looked towards the high platform with ulterior motives. At that moment, when everyone's gaze turned towards the high platform, Emo-Chingyun and the rest were already in full swing. 9 temples, perform soul grafting with me. After forcing everyone in front of him back, Emo-Chingyun did not intend to hold back and sent a message to the 9 temples in the Soul Palace. Yes, young lord. Hearing this, Jiugong immediately responded to Emo-Chingyun and grafted her soul with Emo-Chingyun. Then, one of the soul stars on Emo-Chingyun's forehead shone with a dazzling light. Sky burning meteor. After completing the soul grafting with Jiugong, Emo-Chingyun raised his hand and began to draw in the air, drawing strange runes one after another. As soon as these runes were drawn, they emitted a sharp aura and flashed with a dazzling red light. After seeing this scene, everyone's expression froze, revealing a look of shock. Emo-Chingyun was drawing a formation? Emo-Chingyun knows about array formations? His talent is too monstrous. I didn't expect Emo-Chingyun to have such a trump card. It seems like it won't be easy for Zhu Jinlan and the rest to win. It seems like Emo-Chingyun has something to rely on when he signed the life and death letter with Zhu Jinlan and the rest. Seeing the formation runes flashing in the air, everyone's expression changed. Their faces were full of shock. Formation? Li Fan was shocked. Then, ecstasy appeared on his face. He said excitedly, "This kid is really good at hiding it. He only revealed this trump card now. I was worried for half a day. Yuan Ba, don't just stand there. Stop that kid from setting up the formation." When they saw Emo-Chingyun's actions, Yuan De and the rest's expressions changed. They urged Yuan Ba and the rest anxiously. They knew very well that once Emo-Chingyun finished setting up the formation, Yuan Ba and the rest would be in a very bad situation. Hearing Yuan Da's reminder, Yuan Ba and the rest dared not hesitate. They attacked Emo-Chingyun one after another, trying to stop Emo-Chingyun from setting up the formation. "You're too slow." Seeing Yuan Ba and the others attack, Emo-Chingyun had a look of disdain on his face as he mocked them. Sky-burning meteor flame formation, activate. Then, Emo-Chingyun pointed at the formation talisman in front of him and activated the formation. As his cultivation of the 9 temples had broken through to the manifestation realm, Emo-Chingyun's ability to use the power of the 9 temples had also increased. If the sky-burning meteor flame formation was not of a low grade, Emo-Chingyun would have been able to set it up in an instant with his current ability. When Emo-Chingyun pointed at it, the formation talisman shone brightly and turned into a red light curtain that covered Yuan Ba and the rest. Fall back. Seeing the meteor flame sky-burning array coming towards them, Yuan Ba and the others were shocked. Their faces were filled with fear. Then, Yuan Ba and the rest retreated to avoid being covered by the sky-burning meteor flame formation. However, the sky-burning meteor flame formation was too fast. It was almost instantaneous. At that moment, before Yuan Ba and the rest could turn around to avoid it, the sky-burning meteor flame formation covered them. Bang bang bang. As soon as Yuan Ba and the rest were covered by the sky-burning meteor flame formation, the flames in the sky-burning meteor flame formation raged and formed huge fireballs that blasted towards Yuan Ba and the rest. As soon as the fireballs formed, they exuded a terrifying aura. The aura was enough to make a quasi-7 seal expert pale in fright. "Everyone, be careful." Seeing the fireballs coming towards them, Lu Chao reminded everyone with a serious look on his face. Hearing Lu Chao's reminder, Yuan Ba and the rest attacked and destroyed the fireballs that were coming towards them. Facing the bombardment of the fireballs, Yuan Ba was the most relaxed among them. After all, he had the limitless body charm to protect him. In comparison, Zhou Jin's situation was the most dangerous. It was almost to the point where he was surrounded by dangers. He had no choice. Not only was he the weakest among them, but his body was also as strong as Mount Tai's. He was the most vulnerable to the fireballs. As for Zhou Jin's dangerous situation, Yuan Ba and the rest didn't bother about it. They didn't care if Zhou Jin was dead or alive. In an instant, Yuan Ba and the rest were in a flurry. They kept on blocking the fireballs that were coming towards them. As the scene unfolded in front of them, everyone's gazes turned towards Yuan Ba and the rest who were in the formation. At that moment, Emo Qingyun's figure disappeared from the high platform without anyone noticing. Emo Qingyun used his martial soul's ability, the concealment door, to conceal himself. Then, he silently entered the formation. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. After entering the formation, Emo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately stabbed Zhou Jin with his halberd. It couldn't be helped. Everyone liked to pick on the weak. Emo Qingyun was naturally no exception. At that moment, Zhou Jin was busy dealing with the fireballs. He didn't sense Emo Qingyun's attack at all. Puff! Then, everyone saw a crimson halberd blade piercing into Zhou Jin's chest forcefully. It instantly pierced through his body. Seeing that his chest had been pierced, Zhou Jin immediately opened his eyes wide. As he looked at Emo Qingyun, who was gradually revealing his figure, he was speechless. Puff! Chapter 690. As soon as Emo Qingyun finished his words, he walked toward Zhu Jinlan and the rest. His figure gradually disappeared before everyone's eyes. Seeing Emo Qingyun's figure disappear, the expressions of Chou Jianfeng and the others immediately changed greatly, revealing a terrified expression. Emo Qingyun was going to kill them. Now that Emo Qingyun's figure had disappeared and his aura was completely concealed, they could not sense Emo Qingyun's existence. Most importantly, they had to deal with the continuous fireball attack. They had no time to deal with Emo Qingyun. Such a situation was not a good thing for them. It was very likely that they would be killed by Emo Qingyun if they weren't careful, just like Zhou Jin. At this moment, while Zhu Jinlan and the others were panicking, the people around them were also shocked. Emo Qingyun knows how to conceal his figure? Moreover, his concealing ability seems to be stronger than Shadow Talisman sect. In this case, Zhu Jinlan and the rest are in danger. They might follow in Zhou Jin's footstep. It seems like Emo Qingyun is really going to kill when he wants to sign the life and death contract. Looking at the scene before them, the people from the various sects were all shocked as they whispered to each other. Zhou Jin is dead. Seeing that Zhou Jin was killed by Emo Qingyun, the elders of Wild Talisman sect were heartbroken and their faces twitched unconsciously. Zhou Jin was the disciple who was second only to Zhou Qing in Wild Talisman sect. He was the only one who had survived the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. But now, Emo Qingyun had actually killed him in an instant. This was a cruel thing for the people of Wild Talisman sect. Everyone, I didn't expect Emo Qingyun to have such means. If this goes on, Lu Chao and the rest will be in trouble. Looking at the situation, Zhu Ru's face turned solemn and he spoke to Yuan De and the rest. Why don't we? Hearing Zhu Ru's words, Jin Kai's eyes flashed coldly and he secretly made a beheading gesture. Seeing Jin Kai's action, Yuan De and the others immediately nodded in agreement, killing intent bursting from their eyes. Mo Qingyun die. Then, Jin Kai was the first to move. He flew up to the high platform at top speed and punched at the meteor flame sky burning array. After Jin Kai made a move against Mo Qingyun, Yuan De and the others no longer hesitated and rushed to the high platform where the battle was taking place. "You're all courting death." When he saw the actions of Yuan De and the others, Li Fan's expression immediately went cold, and he attacked Jin Kai and the others. Just now, he had already announced that with him here, no one would be able to interfere with the battle between Mo Qingyun and the others. Now, Jin Kai and the others had openly attacked him. This was simply a provocation to him. This was not something he could tolerate. "Elder Li Fan, calm down. If there's anything, we can sit down and talk about it slowly. There's no need to get into a fight." Upon seeing Li Fan's actions, Mo Qing and the rest revealed a cold smile. Their figures moved one after another, stopping Li Fan from attacking Jin Kai and the rest. Mo Qing, when he saw that Mo Qing and the rest had intervened, Li Fan's expression immediately darkened, and he was furious to the extreme. He naturally knew that Mo Qing and the rest's actions were obviously to get someone else to do the dirty work. With the help of Jin Kai and the rest, they could kill Mo Qingyun on the spot, so that the 9 great sects would not have any future troubles. "Thank you, elders of the higher sects." When they saw that Mo Qing and the rest had intervened to stop Li Fan, Jin Kai and the rest immediately revealed a joyful expression, and they quickly thanked Mo Qing and the rest. "Haha. Everyone, let's talk things out. There's no need to get into a fight." Mo Qing chuckled in response to Jin Kai and the rest's thanks, and he gave them a look. At this moment, Mo Qing's actions were not taboo. As long as one was not blind, one could tell that he was hinting for Jin Kai and the rest to continue. He was telling Jin Kai and the rest that they would stop Li Fan, so that they could deal with Mo Qingyun without any worries. "Mo Qing, you've gone too far." Seeing how agitated Jin Kai and the rest were, Li Fan's expression instantly turned ferocious, and a black cloud erupted from his body. Following the appearance of the black cloud, Li Fan's aura rose rapidly, and instantly reached the level of a quasi-9 seal. "Elder Li Fan, why are you doing this? You've led the heavenly demon into your body to raise your cultivation. Be careful that the heavenly demon doesn't take over your body." Seeing Li Fan's actions, Mo Qing and the rest pretended to be worried, and their eyes revealed a cold glint, as they gloated over Li Fan's misfortune. Although Li Fan had led the heavenly demon into his body to raise his cultivation, it still could not do anything to Mo Qing and the rest. There was no choice. After all, there were too many people on Mo Qing's side, and it was not something that could be changed just by raising his cultivation. At this moment, while Mo Qing and the rest were entangled with Li Fan, Jin Kai and the rest had already neared the array, and started to attack the meteor flame sky burning array. Seeing the actions of Jin Kai and the rest, Mo Qingyun's face revealed a look of disdain, and his face turned cold as he said, "A bunch of shameless old dogs. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless." Divine Lotus General's true body god inviting talisman. As Mo Qingyun spoke, he took out the Divine Lotus General's true body god inviting talisman, and activated it without any hesitation. Following that, the Divine Lotus General's true body god inviting talisman emitted a dazzling light that shone on Mo Qingyun's body. Shortly after, the aura on Mo Qingyun's body rose rapidly, and in a short while, it reached the peak of the initial second-level sovereign stage. Initial second-level sovereign stage. Sensing his current strength, Mo Qingyun's face immediately revealed a look of surprise, and his expression turned cold. At the same time, Mo Qingyun's body also underwent some changes, and he turned into a 3-headed, 6-armed man, with the universe ring around his neck, the red tasseled spear in his hand, and the wind-fire wheels beneath his feet. Divine Lotus General's true body god inviting talisman. Seeing the changes in Emo Qingyun's appearance, everyone's expression changed drastically, and they revealed a look of shock. They had never imagined that Emo Qingyun would be able to reach such a terrifying stage. Sealed Gate. Heavenly Flames Sky-Breaking Halberd. Shaoza Heavenly Spirit Finger. Inaction Heaven Concealing Finger. In an instant, Emo Qingyun used all kinds of powerful techniques without holding back, and he bombarded Yuan Ba and the others with attack. With Emo Qingyun's current cultivation at the peak of the initial second-level sovereign stage, it was easy for him to deal with Yuan Ba and the others, who were only at the 7th seal realm. Bang 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 bang. Under Emo Qingyun's attacks, regardless of whether it was Yuan Ba, who had the boundless body god inviting talisman, or Zhu Jinlan and the others, their bodies were directly crushed. No! Yuan Ba. Jian Feng. Looking at the scene before them, Jin Kai and the others' eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and they all shouted loudly. However, their shouts were unable to prevent Yuan Ba and the others from being killed by Emo Qingyun. Seeing Yuan Ba and the others being killed by Emo Qingyun's attacks, everyone was instantly dumbfounded. 5/8 Seal Realm experts had tried to stop him, but they were unable to stop Emo Qingyun from killing Yuan Ba and the others. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.